Good morning, everybody, to this inauguration of MOA Day 2020 celebration. And we have with us our President, Secretary, and the entire MOA EC, as well as Dr. Ram Chadda, Organizing Secretary of FICON 2020. So we'll start the proceedings now. Welcome to the. I'll request all of you to mute yourself, and only when you are speaking you can go ahead. So let's begin with the program of inauguration. So as usual, we'll begin with an aarti.
सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा
So that's the aarti. We'll move on to the next slide. So we'll have a moment of silence for all our foreign warriors and prayers for who are fighting on front line for COVID. Since the MOA Day theme is also on defeating COVID, we'll have a minute of silence for them. Thank you, everybody. And we are sure that their fight and their loss will never be forgotten. Let's move on with the lamp lighting. Dr. Ajit Shinde, sir, you can light the lamp.
Welcome to MOA Day.
Karne, sir. Karne, sir, you can say welcome to MOA Day. Unmute yourself and
welcome to everybody.
Gadegone, sir.
सर्व महाराष्ट्र ऑर्थोपेडिक अस्थि संघटनेच्या सभासदांना हार्दिक शुभेच्छा.
Deshpande, sir, I think hasn't joined us, but will join us soon. Parag, sir.
Yes, I wish all of you a very happy MOA Day, and welcome everybody.
Durjar, sir. Durjar, sir, unmute yourself.
Welcome to the MOA Day function.
Sikadar, sir. Sikadar, sir, unmute.
MOA Day च्या सर्वांना हार्दिक शुभेच्छा.
And last one from the entire MOA EC. So welcome everybody. Let's move on to the address by MOA President Professor Ajit Shinde. So over to you, sir.
Good morning, friends. Best and healthy wishes to you and your loved ones. We all are well versed with scope and activities of orthopedic surgeons. Pendulum of activities swings from managing back pains to fixing fractures to replacing joints using razor edge technology. We play a pivotal role in accurate diagnosis and immaculate treatment modalities of all these elements. Gone are the days when patients used to be bedridden for weeks and months with heavy plaster for major fractures. In modern era, these patients are up and about with daycare surgeries. To percolate these high-tech treatment options to lower stratum of society and every nook and corner of our state, and also to update peripheral orthopedic surgeons with advanced skill, State Orthopedic Association was found on 1st May 1983 at Pune. This is the apex body of various orthopedic associations all over the state. Luminaries in the field like Dr. Bavadekar, Dr. K.S. Sancheti, Dr. J.S. Kulkarni, Dr. Hardikar, Dr. Babulkar have led this association time to time. Pertinent to this noble objective, our association is working not only in metros like Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, but also in small district and rural areas. It is instrumental in arranging conferences, academic deliberations, hands-on workshop, and many more to update the skills of orthopedic surgeons across the length and breadth of our state. Activities do not come to halt here. Association tends to imbibe social values and ethics on the minds of our members. In order to achieve these, various diagnostic camps, free surgical camps, free treatment for physically challenged, aids for the victims of road traffic accidents are being arranged. This year, our state, our nation, and entire world at large is facing the threat of COVID-19 pandemic. During these turbulent times, every effort has been made to guide and update the surgeons and patients. This year, tagline of MOA Day is Together We Can Defeat Corona. On this occasion, we have arranged didactic lectures, webinars for Orthopedic Society. Also, considering the mental stress and strain that we all are facing in these tough times, special session by eminent psychologist Dr. Anand Nadkarni is arranged today at 12 noon. In the evening, to inspire our minds, we have organized a talk on challengeless peace in changing world by none other than Swami Riaz Barucha at 4 p.m. Out-of-box thinking of our members regarding financial implications of lockdown and post-lockdown phase on medical fraternity, what will be the duties and opportunities in this space, all has been covered in an excellent webinar arranged today at 5:30 p.m. by Dr. Bagli, Dr. Deshpande, and Dr. Damle. Various district organizations are also being involved in pursuing many social activities. Blood donation camps, supply of essential commodities to those below the poverty line, updating common man rationally and scientifically about this pandemic are some of the other activities that have been planned across the state. I vouch at this juncture that there will be no violation of lockdown rules while carrying out these activities. All members of association have been urged and appealed to donate generously to CM Relief Fund and PM Care funds. My trust and institute has donated 1 lakh rupees. I am grateful for the support and help of my friends, Dr. Parag Sancheti, Dr. Sushrut Babulkar, Dr. Ashok Sham, Dr. Sanjay Durjad, Dr. Prakash Shigedar, Dr. Gade Ganesar, Dr. Ashok Poddar, Dr. Narayan Karne, and all others who have been working hard to make this day valuable and memorable. On behalf of Maharashtra Orthopedic Association, I would like to urge all medical colleges and patients to extend utmost cooperation and avail these services. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra, Jai MOA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that address to all MOA
Ashok
members.
sir, can you
Yes.
raise the voice volume?
Volume?
Ashok sir.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for that address to all MOA members. And
Thank you.
as you mentioned, we'll go ahead with a lot of program the entire day, and all members can join on the same link that was given. So let's move on to the address by our Honorary Secretary, Dr. Narayan Karne. Karne, sir, over to you.
Thank you, Shyam. Good morning, friends. Well, the history of the Maharashtra Orthopedic Association has just been elaborated by our Honorable President, Dr. Shinde, sir, and how the MOA has progressed for last 37 years. Now, in keeping tune with this, our Honorable past President, Dr. Parag Sancheti, has devised a concept of MOA Day, that the day on which the MOA was established to commemorate that day, and on this day we can outreach to all the orthopedic surgeons at periphery as well as the people at large, the patients at large. For last 2 years, the activity is going on very well. That was mainly concentrated on the awareness programs of the population about their orthopedic problems. This year, the whole world is suffering severely by the pandemic of corona. And everybody at every facet, at every profession, at every level, everybody is suffering from that, not only physically, but by financially, mentally, and this is a totally new, is a sort of, you can say, imprisonment for everybody. Now, everybody is disturbed because of this. So we found that our member should be addressed how to deal with this situation, how to deal in their own private practice, in their own management of their nursing home, how to see the patients in the OPD, in the IPD, in the wards, as well as how to follow the government guidelines, because every day government guidelines are changing and there's a different notifications. So how to cope up with that, and of course not only cope up with that, how to win over that, that is very important. At the same time, because there is a lot of time, the mind remains empty. So lot many webinars have been started by our colleagues. There are, I will say, unprecedented webinars. Whatever webinars must have happened in last whole year has happened in last only 3-4 weeks. So on this MOA day, we'll take the theme as a corona. We request all the district orthopedic associations also to follow whatever guidelines we are going to give now. Our past secretary, Dr. Prakash Shigedar, and current vice president, Dr. Sanjay Durjad, had worked very hard to formulate the program and cover all the aspects, not only from the management point of view, but from how to deal with the financial issues during lockdown, after lockdown, and at the same time, the most important, how to keep our mind peaceful and stable. We hope that this will help everybody, all orthopedic surgeons all over Maharashtra, and that will be propagated by all the district association further to their taluka and the village level. I congratulate Dr. Shinde sir for with such a we can say, dynamic, because this program was just devised hardly 8 to 10 days ago, and within 8 to 10, because in the past 2 years it was taking 1 or 2 months. Rather, we had spent 1 and 2 months to decide the program, but here within 8 days, under the able guidance and the strong force of Dr. Ajit Shinde and the hard work of Dr. Prakash Sigedar, Dr. Durzad, Dr. Poddar, and all executive committee, we could do this wonderful program. I must congratulate Dr. Ashok Sham and thank to him also for leaving all his programs today and dedicate a whole day to Maharashtra Orthopedic Association. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that address to all MOA members. And let's move on to address by Dr. Ram Chadda, Secretary IOCON 2020, our esteemed guest in this MOA panel. Over to you, Ram sir.
Good morning, friends. On behalf of the Maharashtra Orthopedic Association, I welcome each one of you. Grateful to President Dr. Ajit Shinde, Secretary Dr. Narayan Karne, and the entire Executive Council for giving me an opportunity to speak a few words. 1983 is when the MOA was formulated. 1983 is also the year when the ultra marathon between Sydney and Melbourne was started. This is 950 kilometers. The rules were that you have to run it over 5 days with breaks for 5 nights. Thousands of people went in for the marathon. Everybody in their good attire, shorts, t-shirts, every running gear, everything, which in 1983, there were very few people who could afford. Came along a man on the last minute just before the run started by the name of Cliff Young. He was more than 60 years of age. He was a potato farmer who was wearing something like the PPE that we are all looking at today, a personal protective equipment. And he was shuffling as he came in. This man said he would also like to run because he was told that there is some prize money which he wanted to win and give a charity. People looked at him and said, you're 63, 64 years old or 61, 62, whatever his age was at that time. And this is 950 kilometers. How are you going to run? He said, I'll try. Ladies and gentlemen, this race was run over 5 days, 5 nights. The rule was that you could sleep for a maximum of 8 hours at night and then continue running. Well, on day 1, Cliff Young was probably right at the end. Day 2, he was somewhere in between. How did he reach in between? Well, Cliff Young did not know that you had to sleep the entire night. He just kept running. And may I share with you that this 60-plus-year-old gentleman was the winner of the first ever ultra marathon from Sydney to Melbourne, 950 kilometers in the year 1983. How did he do it? He did it because he believed himself and he had faith. Today, we are all in this VUCA situation, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We don't know what is going to happen tomorrow, and we are seeking happiness today. The only way that we can move ahead is to have faith in the future and not fear in the future, and have no despair, despondency about the past. This is the way we can be happy today. And I take you to that man who was a visionary called Abdul Kalam. He wrote a book called Vision 2020, which was released in the late 90s. I remember Dr. Rajsekharan giving me a copy of this many, many years back. This man said 5 things. He said in 2020, the 5 major aspects of life that you would need to concentrate on would be health, education, agriculture, communications, and critical technology. How correct he was. We are struggling for health. Education is what we are trying to share with each other on different platforms. Agricultural workers the Manrega workers are stuck all over the country. Communication is probably keeping us together. And critical technology, whether it is biotechnology, nanotechnology, pharmotechnology, is the way forward. But one thing, which was added to this list by His Holiness, which is Pramukh Swami of the Baps, when he had a meeting with APJ Abdul Kalam in the early 2000s, was faith in God. Please have this one faith and move ahead. That's all that we need. We have to overcome our fear with faith. Faith is full assurance in the heart. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Let's move ahead. Let's change our mindset. Let's behave like that shoe company which sent some people to South Africa many, many years back. Sent two of their top men there. After 2 days, the first guy called up and informed the company, South Africa is the worst place. Nobody wears shoes here. We have no business here. The other guy said, he also called up. He said, this is a fantastic place. We don't even know anything about shoes. This is the place where our business will grow. So it's the way that you look at the situation. Look for the opportunity in the adversity. We shall overcome this, and this too shall pass. Please, let's all move together towards IACON 2020. Let's move towards establishing a new normal. And I'm sure with the inputs coming in from MOA, we will show the way forward to India and the world. Thank you all for having me here.
Thank you very much, sir, for those inspirational words. And I'm sure ICON 2020 will be a great, great event, and we all look forward to it, and we all look forward to contributing it positively. So thank you very much, sir, again.
Thank you, Ram, for nice words.
Yes, sir. Shinde, sir, you want to say something?
Thank you, Ram, for nice words.
Thank you, sir. Your guidance, your blessings. Looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's move on with the program with address from Dr. Parag Sancheti. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashok. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the inauguration ceremony of the MOA Day 2020. As Dr. Shinde and Dr. Ram told us that this MOA Day has roots in its foundation on 1st May 1983, and therefore 1st of May is something we celebrate as the MOA Day. So I welcome all the dignitaries, our Honorable President Dr. Shinde, our dynamic Secretary Dr. Karne, our President-elect Dr. Gadegode, our past President Dr. Deshpande, our past Secretary and the Coordinator for MOA Day Dr. Prakash Sigedar, the Coordinator for MOA Day Dr. Duzad, also the Sutradhar of the whole day Dr. Ashok Sham, all the other MOA members, Dr. Shevale, Dr. Dheeraj Sonawane, Dr. Sushrut Babulkar is also here. Welcome, Sushrut. We are happy to see you. Dr. Govardhan Ingre, Dr. Bharat Kotkar, Dr. Eknath Pawar, and also our dynamic Sandeep Virares, and the organizing secretary of MOACon, Dr. Ram Chadda. Dr. Ram, you really spoke so well. You enlightened all of us. You kind of helped us to face this situation, and gave us very nice words of guidance. And I'm sure this will help us to overcome the crisis. A little more about the MOA Day. We started doing the MOA Day celebrations 2 years ago. The last year also it was celebrated in a big way, and Dr. Deshpande and his executive team did the MOA Day celebration. Their theme was Rastatle Apgat Tya Madaticha Hath. So they stressed the importance of the golden hour, and it was very nicely conducted by Dr. Deshpande, Dr. Sigedar, and the entire team, and supported by the district chapters also. When I was the president, we did the theme of public awareness and preventive medicine. We talked about osteoarthritis, osteoporosis. A lot of lectures were taken across the Maharashtra state, and that also went off well. This year, rightfully, Dr. President Ajit Shinde, Dr. Karne and his team have selected a very good theme. Together, we can defeat Corona. We can fight Corona, and that was the requirement. The importance is every day is a dynamic situation. You have to change with time. So Dr. Ajit Shinde very rightfully has selected this team that, hum sabke saath sabka vikas, what was his thing? In tune with that, he has now announced together we can defeat Corona. So Shinde sir, we compliment you for this theme, and this is something which is the requirement. As Ram just said, there are so many things which are uncertain, and one of the things which stresses a person is uncertainty. If we know that for 1 month we have to sit at home, but on the 31st day after 1 month is over, we will be back to work, then we are fine. But today it's a very dynamic situation. It's evolving. Things are changing rapidly. Things are moving in a different direction, and therefore the uncertainty gets the stress in you. And whenever this stress, kind of precipitates, it creates a fear in you, and this fear, is a problem. Ram very nicely has told us how to overcome this fear. It's more of an emotional game. It's more of a mindset. And if a 60-year-old can win a marathon and he didn't even know that he didn't have to sleep, these are fantastic examples for all of us today to gain some positive thinking. My personal opinion is that, just keep a positive mind, keep positive thinking. If you get negative energy, if you see too much of WhatsApps, if you see too much of the news, and most of the news is negative, then it becomes really very difficult to deal with it, because there is something called a subconscious mind. I strongly believe in two minds. One is the conscious mind, what is we are doing is our physical being, and our subconscious mind, which actually controls us. And that subconscious mind keeps getting stimuli from these different WhatsApp news on the television, negative talks. So we have to just keep thinking positively. And as Ram said, these things will be over really soon. Dr. Shinde has chosen the right theme. Together we can defeat Corona. And I'm sure we have to use these unprecedented times in a positive way, stay on the top of things, and this shall also pass. I want to thank once again the entire organizing committee for this year 2019-2020 for really showing us the way. They have stuck together. They are fighting together these issues which we are facing because of coronavirus, and keeping in tune with that. This year's MOA Day, we have some excellent programs throughout the day. After this, Dr. Shushruth will take us through with Dr. Nadkarni, who will tell us on various aspects of this, the emotional aspects, what I was just referring to. Physically you have all the time, but emotionally this can drain you. So that will be a very good thing. Then we have again by the Vidarbha Orthopedic Society, led by Sushruth Gadigone sir, to tell us about the COVID guidelines. And that is something again very important. And Sushruth, along with his team, has taken it upon himself to lay the guidelines with an orthopedic perspective. That is important. Otherwise, at a click of a button, you'll get so many guidelines and it gets so confusing. This morning, JP has released a book already on COVID guidelines. So I think we have to just, have an orthopedic perspective, and Sushruth will do that. At 4 o'clock, we have a very interesting program by Swami Riaz, who will talk to us on how to combat this issue, how to get peace from this. He is a senior disciple of Swami Parthasarthi, and from 4 to 5 we will have that. 5:30 again, it's very important, to deal with the finances. There are many nursing homes which have been closed for last 1 month. There are many nursing homes which will not open immediately. So we have to deal with this situation. And 5:30 to 6:30, Dr. Bagli, Dr. Deshpande, and Dr. Rahul Damle will take us through that. So Shinde sir has really put a very nice theme, and we will all get benefited by it. I don't want to take much time, but before I finish, I want to thank Prakash Thak Sanjay for taking the proceedings of this day, and special thanks to Ashok Sham, who has put all this together. Ashok has never been so busy as he has been in the last 1 month. I think he just sleeps 2 or 3 hours a day. Whenever I put on the WhatsApp, he's always online. So Ashok, we thank you for your efforts. We appreciate it. And thank you, everybody. Thanks, Shinde sir, Karine sir, Gadegone sir, Deshpande sir, and the entire executive committee. Thank you. Happy MOA Day.
Thank you very much, Parag sir, for that.
Ashok, we are losing you.
Let's move on to over to Dr. Vasudev Gadegone for his views on MOA Day. Over to you, sir.
आदरणीय डॉक्टर अजित शिंदे सर और बिलोड सेक्रेटरी पराग संचेती, संजय दुर्जड़, अशोक श्याम, प्रकाश शिकेदार, and all orthopedic surgeons all over the Maharashtra, and our beloved members of the executive committee and dynamic organizing secretary of IOA राम चड्डा, सर्वांना माझ्या महाराष्ट्र दिनाच्या हार्दिक शुभेच्छा. अजित शिंदे, राम चड्डा, पराग संचेती आणि कर्णे सरांनी बऱ्याचशा गोष्टी ऍड्रेस केलेल्या आहेत. त्यांचं मार्गदर्शन अत्यंत उपयुक्त आहे. सर्वांनी त्यांच्या मार्गदर्शनाचा लाभ घ्यावा. मला आवर्जून सांगावंसं वाटतंय की अजित शिंदे यांनी महाराष्ट्र डे कोरोनाग्रसित महाराष्ट्रामध्ये सुद्धा कसा साजरा करायचा याबद्दल मला रूपरेषा 8 दिवसापूर्वी समजावून सांगितली आणि मला त्यांची आयडिया पटली आणि मी समजलं की सर्व महाराष्ट्र ऑर्थोपेडिक असोसिएशनचे एक्झिक्युटिव्ह मेंबर्स आणि सर्व लाईक माइंडेड मेंबर्स तुम्हाला मदत करतील आणि तुम्ही विश्वास ठेवा की हा 1 मे हा अत्यंत चांगल्या रीतीने साजरा होईल. महाराष्ट्र डे हा साजरा करण्याचं जे सुरुवात जी केलेली आहे ती पराग संचेतीने केलेली आहे आणि पराग संचेतीचं जेवढं कौतुक करावं तेवढं कमीच आहे. कारण की महाराष्ट्र ऑर्थोपेडिक असोसिएशन मध्ये अशा प्रकारचं काहीतरी होत आहे हे संघटनेला तर समजलंच पाहिजे, परंतु सभासदांनाही समजलं पाहिजे आणि ह्या महाराष्ट्रातील जनतेला सुद्धा समजलं पाहिजे. हा स्तुत्य उपक्रम तुम्ही जो घडवून आणलेला आहे आणि यावेळी तो साजरा होत आहे याबद्दल मला अत्यंत आनंद होत आहे. आणि जे लोक प्रत्यक्ष किंवा अप्रत्यक्ष या कार्यक्रमासाठी जे मदत करत आहेत त्यांचं किती कौतुक करावं हे माझे शब्द थोडके पडत आहेत. अशोक श्याम, हे तू सर्व महाराष्ट्राला आणि देशाला हे सर्व समजावून सांगत आहेस या वेबसाईटच्या माध्यमातून, तुझं सुद्धा कौतुक करावं असं वाटतंय. आणि ह्या महाराष्ट्र देशाच्या सर्व कार्यक्रमांना माझ्या सर्व शुभेच्छा आणि तन मन आणि धनाने मी ह्या सर्व गोष्टीसाठी अजित शिंदे यांच्या पाठीशी राहील अशी ग्वाही देतो. धन्यवाद. धन्यवाद.
Thank you very much, sir, for that welcome address. And there's more to say with that. It was very, very heartfelt message that you gave to all of us. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next topic on address on MOA Day by our Vice President, Dr. Sanjay Durgar, and our past Secretary, Dr. Prakash Shikedar. Over to you, Shikedar, sir. I'll stop my sharing and you can share your PowerPoint.
Good morning, everybody. Respected President Dr. Shinde sir, Honorary Secretary Dr. Karne sir, past President Dr. Parag Sancheti sir, Dr. Gadegone sir, Dr. Ram Chadda, my colleague Dr. Sanjay Dhurzad, and all my colleagues in the Executive Committee and all MOA members. At the outset, I wish you all a very happy Maharashtra Orthopedic Association Foundation Day. Today, luckily, we are having Maharashtra Day, Labor Day, and our Jalna district was also founded on the same day. So I wish all of you a grand success. So the theme for this year, I am thankful at the outset to Dr. Shinde sir for shouldering the responsibility of coordinating the MOA Day this year also. And it was a very short notice, as Karne sir and all said, it all happened in 5-6 days. And with the help of all the members, we can reach every nook and corner of Maharashtra. We have 27 affiliated and 5 non-affiliated branches, and we could reach to all the branches. And theme for this year is, as rightly said, together we can defeat Corona. I wish all of you a very grand success on this day of Maharashtra Orthopedic Association Foundation Day, and definitely will progress by leaps and bounds in coming year, and will overcome this crisis of Corona, which is globally now. So the Foundation Week program we have chopped with the help of our team, and from 1st to 7th May, we are having different programs today. We are busy whole day from 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Various programs have been arranged. After this, everybody has elaborated about the program. One more program for the entertainment has been arranged by Dr. Ashok Poddar. You can join live that program from 8:30 to 9:30 in the evening as a relaxation part of this program. And we have compliments from our leaders also. Our ex-chief minister and leader of opposition Devendra Fadnavis has extended his wishes on this occasion, and he has rightly appreciated our work for the drought-affected people, polio and earthquake and all. And our social commitment has been appreciated by the ex-chief of our state. Also, we have a message from Medical Education and Sanskritik Mantri, Mr. Amit Deshmukh, and he has also appreciated our efforts since last 37 years for the uplift of the not only of the members but of the society. I am thankful to both of them. I tried for CM sir and Health Minister, but because they are so busy, I could not reach them. So today's program, everybody has told you, I will not repeat the program again. And this is a very good program organized considering each and every aspect of our life, like education, like psychological stability and entertainment. Everything has been considered while formulating this program. So, and there are various activities today and in the week also. Latur Orthopedic Association and especially Dr. Ashok Poddar has planned so much of the programs, right from the tree plantation to the lecture on environment to the entertainment. And he has done a tremendous work. I congratulate Ashok and his team, his efforts and support to the Maharashtra Orthopedic Association. There has been a cultural program, as I said, in the evening. Everybody of you can enjoy this program with your family from 8:30 to 9:30 on Facebook Live and on the given link also. Kolhapur yesterday has arranged the program on the MOA Day celebration, and the 3 lectures were given by the eminent speakers, and actually our MOA Day started yesterday night only. And there are other associations also who have promised to conduct the programs in this week, like Jalna, Sangli, Vidarbha Orthopedic Society has already, Ahmednagar, Dr. Rahul Pandit has also chopped 7 programs, like 7 Saptapadi for 7 days. And I congratulate Rahul also. Nashik, Pune, Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, Akola, Yavatmal, Buldana, and all almost. And even I have contacted the non-affiliated branches like Raigad, Ratnagiri, Sindhudurg, Bhandara, Gondia, and they also have promised us to do one or the other program during this week. I am thankful to all of them for supporting and chopping the programs in a short notice of period. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shinde sir, for giving me the opportunity once again to shoulder this responsibility of Chief Coordinator of the MOA Days. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sikadar sir, for the excellent overview of the programs and the MOA Day. So let's move on to with the sharing with our next agenda. So
Dr. Durjar.
yeah, Dr. Durjar, please.
All the dignitaries, the President, Dr. Shinde sir, and Secretary Dr. Karne, past President Parag sir, and President-elect Gadegone sir, and all the executive members, and Ashok Sam sir. Dr. Shigedar sir is the most experienced of all, and aptly Shinde sir has shouldered him the responsibility of conducting this MOA Day activity. And he has very much taken it to his heart, and he has conducted and he has coordinated with everybody from last 2 or 3 days, and has come up with an excellent program. And I was very fortunate to work with him and also learned from him that how to communicate with everybody and how to coordinate. This was a learning for me. One thing only I want to just add that the programs will go on for next 1 week, no doubt. But this situation has brought us to the bottom line that the section of the society to which we belong to as doctors, as medical professionals, we are basically responsible for maintaining the health of the society, health of the citizens and the countrymen. And most probably, I feel that we somewhere lost that focus, and we were forced to look into ourselves and look into our profession that yes, really, we are meant to maintain the health of the society. And this is an opportunity for us. Apart from the whole year's academic activities, this particular activity of celebrating the MOA Day and MOA Week, we go to people who are like our customers or clients or patients, what we call, and we take the responsibilities to, in this particular situation, to fight against corona, and in other situations also. Especially last year, we had the road safety awareness programs and things like that. So basically, apart from doing our practice, doing our profession, and living our life, we are also responsible for our citizens. We are also responsible for the society and the country and the whole world as at large. And we too, henceforth, have to focus on the people on whom we build on as a profession. So this is a very good opportunity for us to be with people, activities, either online or on the ground level. And the next 7 days the state will evidence the activities of MOA. And special congratulations to Ajit Shinde sir, that even in
We are losing the audio.
I think we are losing Dr. Durjar's internet connection. Anyways, we'll get back to him shortly. Hello, Dr. Durjar, are you back online? Yeah, Durjar sir, go ahead.
Sanjay, unmute yourself. Sanjay, unmute. Yeah, okay.
Hello?
yes, sir.
You want to
Yeah,
finish?
go ahead, Dr. Durjar. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm done. Ashok sir, that's it from me.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Dr. Durjar.
Ashok, let's go on.
Okay.
Sanjay, we lost you a little bit in the end. So if you just want to quickly conclude one line, last line from you, because we lost you a little bit.
I think we again lost him.
Okay, you
So
go.
let's move on to the next. We'd like to have few words from Dr. Shushruth Bawalkar, who has joined us. He's the president of VOS. And over to you, Shushruth sir.
Thanks. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Dr. Ajit Shinde sir, thank you very much. Parag, thanks. Thank you, Secretary Dr. Narayan Kurve sir and Ashok for getting me here. I think Dr. Nadkarni is already here. So is it okay if we all start with the next program, because we have very limited
Let's just conclude this program. So 5 minutes, and then we'll officially start that program.
So
you can just say a few words, and then we quickly move on to the next program.
I'm good. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I have discussed this at length with Dr. Narayan Karni sir and Dr. Ajit Shinde sir. What we have in mind, we will have two major programs. 12 to 1, we will deal with the issues that we will probably face once we get back to work in active orthopedic clinical practice based on psychological aspects that we might face. And the next program, 1 to 3, is a panel discussion wherein we have tried to rope in orthopedic surgeons from all sections of Maharashtra and some physicians, intensivists, pulmonologists who would guide us through various protocols that have been established on general medical care front. And we will give special emphasis to orthopedic surgeons, what we should be following as guidelines. And that would be released within next 24, 48 hours once this panel discussion is over. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and over to you, Ashok.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's move on to the next agenda addressed by MOA EC members. If any EC member wants to make any comments on their thoughts on MOA Day, please come forward.
We just have about 2 minutes because Dr. Nadkarni is with us. So anybody of the EC members want to say anything quickly, we can have.
Yes, I am Dr. Avinash Patil.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful program arranged by Dr. Sigedar and Dr. Dhujad. Long live MOA. Best wishes. Thanks.
Go ahead, Sandeep. Go ahead, Sandeep.
Yeah. Very good morning, everyone. So it's a very nice initiative of MOA Day celebration started by Parag sir, and then it is continued by Dr. Deshpande sir, and then Dr. Ajit Shinde sir. And we know this will be continued forever. All the best for all the efforts of the team MOA who has put forward this program, and all the members of the MOA, and for the viewer across the globe. Thank you very much. Best wishes for the team. Thank you, Ajit Shinde sir.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes to speak?
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to our last agenda. Vote of thanks from Dr. Sanjay Durjar. Over to you, Durjar, sir, if you are on. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, everybody. It's my privilege and honor to give a vote of thanks on this very auspicious MOA Day function. And first of all, this program wouldn't have been possible without the vision of Dr. Ajit Shinde sir and his faith in himself and in the EC, and also in each and every member of MOA, that this is possible. And only because of this faith, this program is being done from today onwards for next 7 days. So salute to him, salute to his vision, and salute to his faith that he has instilled in us, that whatever the situation may be, if we decide, we can do it. We have seen him operating in a similar condition from last almost maybe 6 months to 1 year. And this event also is a reflection of his attitudes and his way of working. Aptly supported by Dr. Karne sir in this particular event. And special thanks to Dr. Sigedar sir. He has willingly taken up this responsibility, and very amicably he has handled all the situations. And in a very short time, almost 4 to 5 days, he has contacted everybody, all the district chapters, and he has pursued all the district presidents and secretaries to come up with some sort of activity. And only because of his hard work and his integrity in last few years, what we have seen him as secretary, the same work he has continued. His enthusiasm is the same, and he'll continue to serve MOA for a long period of time. Special thanks to Dr. Parag sir for creating this event for MOA. From last 2 years, we have been celebrating this activity, and I hope that for the years to come, this activity will only flourish. And he was the brainchild behind all these activities, and truly that we are also a part of this society, and he has demonstrated it time and again, and also he is still with us on this particular day and particular function. So I am thankful to him for his brains to come up with this activity. Dr. Nitin Deshpande, who is not here, but he is also last year he has taken up this activity very well, and was a grand success. Special thanks to Ashok Sham sir for making available this platform of online communication, using the technology to its maximum benefit to all the members, to the whole public, to the patients, their relatives, and everybody. So technology can be of help. It is only we have to make it available in a very positive way and in a constructive way. So that what he has done for MOA for last few years is still continuing, and special thanks for him as well. The whole executive who has stood behind our president for this particular activity, they deserve a special thanks. And I hope everybody is enjoying this particular day, particular event, and we'll see that all the guardian ministers will take care of all the activities over next period of next 1 week, and will ensure a smooth functioning without violating the rules, the norms which the government has put for this particular situation, the Pandemic Act, and all the rules and regulations are being followed. We as executive are responsible to see to it that nothing mishap occurs. I also thank all the people who are going to be online for our patients, for our citizens, and all those people who are directly or indirectly involved in this celebration week. A special thanks to them as well. Last but not the least, our family members who has allowed us to conduct and to host all these activities. They are also worth congratulating. And only one thing I would like to say on this occasion: stay at home, stay safe, please take care, because your family needs you, your country needs you, and your association needs you. So thank you, and thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay Durja. That was our Vice President of MOA. Now, for the last concluding remarks, I hand it over to Dr. Parag sir, and then we move on to our next program. Dr. Parag sir.
Thank you. As we come to an end to the program, it was an excellent inauguration. Everything has gone well. Just want to appreciate Dr. Ashok Poddar, who's also with us. For last 2 years, he has been winning the trophy. This year also, he's working hard, and we look forward to your day as from the other districts also. So once again, thank you, Shinde sir. Thank you, Karne sir. I would just like to end by saying, convert liability into asset. As KHS sir said, this corona issue is a liability. Let's try and convert it into an asset. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Karne sir, Shinde sir, Gadigone sir, Prakash, Sanjay, and let's hand it over to Dr. Sushrut to take it further. Thank you, everybody. Sushrut, over to you to take us with Dr. Nadkarni.
Okay.
I would say everybody just put the video off, so just everybody can just see these two people. So all of us should put the video off.
Okay. So, good noon. Dr. Nadkarni sir, welcome on behalf of Maharashtra State Orthopedic Association. I'm sorry we have lost few minutes of your precious time. So without taking much of your time, I'm going to let you speak more than I barge in. But what we basically as orthopedic surgeons are facing is that fear, because we are very less familiar with anything other than orthopedics. We tend to focus more and straight to bones. In fact, we have recently started respecting soft tissues, last few years only. So we straight tend to go and directly hit the bones. Now that has created some fear in our minds, basically thinking that when we get back to work, are we going to get infected also, is our first question. So my first question to you is, how do I combat that fear in my mind, which is hovering on me, that if I go out in the society surrounded by maybe corona positive patients, but who are still in the window period, how do I take away my anxiety and fear? Sir.
Namaskar, everybody. And this is my first occasion to address this August society of my orthopedician colleagues in the state of Maharashtra. And I have been listening and watching your procedures for proceedings for last 20 minutes or so, and got a flavor of how the association is functioning, even in the days of taste for all of us. Now, Sushrut,
Yeah.
I am not going to talk about situation A, situation B, situation C. I am going to talk about the emotions that we will have across all situations.
Feel free,
So I
sir.
think
Feel free. All yours.
that will be very, very important for us, because situations will change, but the principles of emotional regulation is something that we will have to work out, right?
Yeah.
Now, I was listening to all your office bearers and the optimism that they were trying to inculcate in all the members who are listening across the state. And I really appreciated that. But what is very important is that whenever we are trying to spread optimism, I think some members should put the mute on. We are getting sounds. So whenever we are talking about optimism, we need to know how to come to the level of optimism. And there is a process. So as you rightly said, and this process is actually the bone of emotional regulation. So let's focus on the bony structure itself, but this time the bony structure of emotional regulation. So how do we come to optimism? Now, for that, we are all medical people, so I will be a little technical, but just to understand how our brain and how our mind functions. Please understand that during the course of evolution, when human beings started their whole journey, maybe almost 150,000 years back, the challenges or the threats that human beings faced at that time were essentially very, very biological in nature. So the human beings had this threat from predators, from natural disaster, as well as if they get attacked from other human beings. All these were threats to survival. And therefore, in our limbic system, in our brain, the hypothalamus, the limbic system, the amygdala, and all those structures originated our primal emotions, or what we call as primitive emotions. And these primitive emotions, they got rooted around the three choices that all of us had at that time. Suppose I'm facing a biological threat and I'm getting attacked. Then if the attackers are 80 and we are 20, then we will go for what we call as flight. If we are 80 and they are 20, then we will go for fight. And if I am alone and there are 100 people attacking me, then I will go into freeze, which means I will see to it that I'm not found out. So fight, flight, and freeze were three basic responses around us, around which the coping started. And the coping was essentially for biological threats. Now, as we advanced, civilization started. Around 72,000 years back, we started having what we call today as cognitive revolution, because that's the origin of thought. We started thinking. Then around 12,000 years back, agriculture started. After that, man settled down, and a second set of emotions developed, because by that time, civilization, society had taken its roots, in the region which was near to the rivers. And that is why what we call Indus civilization, and all those civilizations started. Now the challenges changed. The biological threats remained, but there was an addition of what we call as psychosocial challenges. Psychosocial challenges started at that time, and right into the 21st century, our life is predominantly now is focused on the psychosocial challenges, right? The biological challenges are there, but the biological challenges are far and few if you compare with the psychosocial challenges. So to deal with psychosocial challenges, more advanced emotional sets was developed, especially in the cerebral cortex. And this is a set of what we call as productive emotions. So primitive emotions come from limbic system. Productive emotions come from cortex. Productive emotions are focused on a response rather than a reaction. Limbic system reacts, cortex responds. And that is why during the time of crisis, now let's come back to Corona and all these days, during the time of crisis, what is unique about this crisis? That on one side, this is a psychosocial challenge. But on the other side, it also has a biological tinge. It has a biological color that you mentioned just now, Sushruth. So let's understand this, that which centers are going to get stimulated. Whenever a challenge is biological tinged, the basic hardware of our brain goes back to limbic system. And we go to reactive mode rather than responding. Add to this that the so-called psychosocial challenges also, many of us have elevated and given them a biological status. For example, loss in relationship, loss in economic stature has led certain people to risk their lives, which means even the psychosocial challenges our brain elevates to biological level. This challenge has a biological color already. So please understand that our brain is going to jump on a reaction mode first. We are going to go back to limbic system. Do not deny the negative emotions. Do not deny the frustration. Do not deny that anger. When you will face so many paradoxical situations during this time, all crises are full of paradoxes. So on one side, you are being told that you start hospitals, you start doing all these things. On the other hand, you are facing problems with protection, protective gears and all that. Situation, the recipe, which is absolutely apt for you getting into primitive emotions. You will get frustrated, you will get angry. So the pep talk will have to be understood. And for that, the first thing is, do not deny your anger. Do not deny your frustration. Do not deny your anxiety. We are all mortals. We are all human beings. We are not perfect. We are not programmed perfectly. Acknowledging and accepting all negative emotions that root from the limbic system is the very first step of emotional regulation. So do not try to get rid of anger. Do not try to get rid of frustration. Do not try to get rid of all these depression or anxiety, what we call as intolerable emotions. Rather, let us accept and let us acknowledge the presence of all extremely negative emotions, which we will call as a group intolerable emotions. We'll call these emotions intolerable emotions. Marathi मध्ये असह्य भावना. Now, our first goal will be to convert the intolerable emotions into tolerable emotions. पहिल्यांदा आपल्याला असह्य भावनांचे रूपांतर सह्य भावनांमध्ये करायचे आहे. प्लेजर will come later. Susahya will come later. First, asahya to sahya. From intolerable to tolerable. Now, how will we do it? Will come the next question. So, I'm going to give you some very practical keywords that all of us will be able to use in our day-to-day life. Because
विचारू का सर?
हो,
इनटॉलरेबल म्हणजे त्या एक्सटेंड पर्यंत जायच्या अगोदरच म्हणजे जस्ट मनात थोडीशी खळबळ झाली, नॉट एक्झॅक्टली टू एन एक्सटेंट ऑफ इनटॉलरेबिलिटी, पण कन्फ्युज्ड माइंड, यु नो, इन बिटवीन, की मी हॉस्पिटलला जाऊ की नको जाऊ, ओपीडी चालू करू की नको करू, सर्जरी करू की नको करू, ही फक्त द्विधा मनस्थिती ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन्सच्या बाबतीत फार जास्ती होते. ही का होते? कारण की काय होत आहे सर, असा डाटा यायला लागला आहे.
तू ज्याला द्विधा म्हणतोयस तीच माझी अँझायटी आहे, तीच माझी लिम्बिक सिस्टीमचीच इमोशन आहे.
ओके,
कारण मी त्याची कॉर्टिकल इमोशन अजून स्पेल आउटच नाही केलेली.
ओके,
तू जे म्हणतोयस तीच 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 लिम्बिक सिस्टीम रिस्पॉन्स आहे. हे द्विधा असणं, कन्फ्यूज होणं, याचा अर्थच असा आहे की मला नेमकं काय करायचं समजत नाही ना. म्हणजे तू तिची इंटेन्सिटी अजून वाढवलीस की मी अँझायटी वरती जाईन, अजून वाढली की मी पॅनिक वरती जाईन. पण सुरुवात द्विधाच आहे ना. यू आर ऑलरेडी, युअर अमिगडाला हॅज स्टार्टेड ऑलरेडी फंक्शनिंग.
बरोबर.
हा, त्यामुळं आपण त्याला काय म्हणतोय की हे सगळे आपण असह्यकडे जातोय. वी आर ट्राइंग टू गो टुवर्ड्स इनटॉलरेबल. म्हणून आपण पहिल्यांदा काय म्हणालो की वी नीड टू नाव ऍक्सेप्ट की आपण इकडे जाणार बाबा. आपण काय पुरुषोत्तम नाही, आपण काय परफेक्ट ह्युमन बिईंग नाही. बरोबर? वी विल गो देअर, वी विल एक्सपिरियन्स दीज इमोशन्स. सो वी विल हॅव टू वर्क ऑन द इंटेन्सिटी, फ्रिक्वेन्सी अँड ड्युरेशन ऑफ दीज इमोशन्स. 3 कॉन्क्रीट पॅरामीटर्स. इंटेन्सिटी, फ्रिक्वेन्सी, ड्युरेशन. म्हणजे तुझी द्विधा मनस्थिती आहे, ती जी इंटेन्सिटी वाढली की ती अँझायटी आणि पॅनिकला जाणार, तिच्यावरती मला काम करायचं.
करेक्ट.
ओके. तिची फ्रिक्वेन्सी म्हणजे मला ही द्विधा मनस्थिती दिवसातून 10 वेळा नको यायला, एखाद्या वेळेला आली तर ठीक आहे. आणि तिची ड्युरेशन, जरी आली मला द्विधा मनस्थिती ना, तरी मी नंतर जे काय योग्य आहे ते करणार आहे. म्हणजे जे योग्य आहे ते म्हणजे आयदर जाईन किंवा न जाईन, पण जे अनुरूप असेल ते मी करेन. राईट? सो वी हॅव टू वर्क ऑन इंटेन्सिटी, फ्रिक्वेन्सी, ड्युरेशन. दॅट इज द पॅरामीटर्स. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन कम्स की मग तिथे मी आणू कसं स्वतःला. बरोबर? आणि तो आपला महत्वाचा मुद्दा आहे की तो आणायचा कसा. आता त्या आणायच्यासाठी आय एम गोइंग टू गिव्ह यू सर्टन की वर्ड्स अँड की फ्रेजेस. बिकॉज ऍट द टाइम वेन यू आर फेसिंग धिस पॉइंट ना, की आता मी जाऊ की नको, त्याच्या वेळेला ना तुला काय पुस्तक वाचायला वेळ नाहीये. तुला तिथं डोक्यात काहीतरी एक गोष्ट अशी आणली पाहिजे की दॅट विल टेक यू फ्रॉम युअर लिम्बिक सिस्टीम टू कॉर्टेक्स. That will take you from reaction to response. Correct? So आपण तसे शब्द तयार करू. Because I know all my orthopedic colleagues, they are very practical. ते मला काय सांगतात, तू मला लेक्चर देऊ नको, मला त्यावेळेला काय करायचं सांग. त्यामुळं मी तुम्हाला त्यावेळी काय करायचं तेवढेच शब्द देतो. बाकी काही ज्ञान देत नाही, बाकी काही तत्वज्ञान देत नाही. सो what is the first thing that I need to get in my mind? So when I go on this limbic system, understand that I am going to a emotional state that we call as I can't stand it. त्याला काय म्हणायचं? I can't stand it. So as you have arthritis, as you have tonsillitis, as you have appendicitis, this is the acute illness called I can't stand it-itis. आता हा जो आय कांट स्टँडिटायटिस आहे, तिथून मला पहिल्यांदा यायचंय आय कॅन स्टँड इट ला. म्हणजे आपण कुठून कुठे जायचंय ते डिफाईन केलं. फ्रॉम आय कांट स्टँड इट टू आय कॅन स्टँड इट. मग त्यासाठी पहिली गोष्ट काय? पहिली गोष्ट my goal. And I was very happy that the office bearers in all those 20-25 minutes of their talk, they were focusing on goal. And they also tried to give all the members a goal ranging from individual goal to a more expanded goal. And also the activities are also taking care of not only the individual goals, but also the social and the national goals. So goal is the first important thing. You will see द्विधा परिस्थिती जेव्हा येते तेव्हा ना जो डॉक्टर म्हणतो की नाही आज मला रुग्ण सेवा द्यायची आहे हेच माझं ध्येय आहे. So then the energy level goes towards regulation, right? So goal is important, and not only goal alignment. Goal alignment is first, goal integration is second, and third will be you becoming the goal or you internalizing the goal. I also did my small little homework, Sushrut, with some of your orthopedic colleagues, calling them and trying to find out what are the real problems that they are facing. And I learned a lot from all these colleagues of mine who are practicing in different parts of our state, Maharashtra, how they are trying to take care of their employees, how they are doing emergency surgeries even in this time, at some risk, because you can't be risk free. You have to make the risk very rational. That's what you can do. So how people are doing that. And when I see this, then I say that these are the people who are actually living their goal. They are goals personified. तसा गोल पर्सॉनिफाईड झाला माणसाचा की माणूस आपोआप कॉर्टिकल लेवलला थिंक करतो. म्हणजेच काय करतो माणूस माहितीये, कॉर्टिकल लेवलला थिंकिंग म्हणजे काय ते आता सांगतो. फर्स्ट पॉइंट, differentiation between factors within control and factors beyond control. At every point, all of us will have to now focus on what are the factors within control and what are the factors beyond control. मग आपल्याकडे चॉईस काय आहे, फॅक्टर्स बियॉन्ड कंट्रोलच्या साठी क्रिब करत राहायचं, कंप्लेन करत राहायचं, का फॅक्टर्स विदिन कंट्रोल आहेत त्याच्यावरती काम करत राहायचं. त्यामुळे माय फर्स्ट की वर्ड विल बी FWC FBC, फॅक्टर्स विदिन कंट्रोल, फॅक्टर्स बियॉन्ड कंट्रोल. आणि ते सुद्धा रोज, की आज काय होणार उद्या काय होणार आपल्याला माहित नाहीये ना. म्हणजे आता मी ठाण्यात राहतोय, तर ठाणं, पुणे, मुंबई या ठिकाणी पुढचे अजून किती दिवस लागतील नॉर्मलला यायला आम्हाला माहित नाहीये. बरोबर आहे. सो द पॉइंट इज की एव्हरी डे वी हॅव टू फोकस ऑन फॅक्टर्स विदिन कंट्रोल. आज तुझ्या नियंत्रणाखाली काय, तुझ्या नियंत्रणाच्या बाहेरचं काय आहे. This strategy works because if you continue to work on factors within control, the factors that seem beyond control today, some of them can come within your control tomorrow. And that is why it's a good strategy, FBC, FWC. So, बघा आपण पुढे सुरुवात केली. I can't stand it to I can stand it. गोल दुसरा, फॅक्टर्स विदिन कंट्रोल, फॅक्टर्स बियॉन्ड कंट्रोल तिसरं. आता चौथा मुद्दा, कॉन्सिक्वेन्सेस. थिंक अबाउट कॉन्सिक्वेन्सेस इन अ रॅशनल मॅनर. आपण लिम्बिक सिस्टीमला गेलो की आपलं मन काय करतं, वी कॉल दॅट टेरिबलायझेशन. टेरिबलायझेशन म्हणजे महाभयंकरीकरण. हे बाहेर जाण्यात काही अर्थच नाही, किती फोफावलाय हा कोरोना सगळीकडे, नाही बाबा जायचं, जान बची तो लाखो पाय. म्हणजे आपण डायरेक्ट एका टोकाला गेलो, करोना विरोधानं मला काय करणार नाही, माझी इम्युनिटी सॉलिड आहे. दिस इज कॉल्ड एज ट्रिव्हियलायझेशन. बोथ कम फ्रॉम लिम्बिक सिस्टम. सो टेरिबलायझेशन आणि ट्रिव्हियलायझेशन याच्या मध्ये काय आहे, रिअलिस्टिक थिंकिंग ऑफ कॉन्सिक्वेन्सेस. So we have to avoid terribilization and trivialization. These thoughts will come in our mind. ना लक्षात घ्या, आपण माणसं आहोत, आपण काय आदर्श विचार करणार नाही. टेरिबलायझेशनचे विचार येणार, ट्रिव्हियलायझेशनचे विचार पण येणार. चायला घरी बसून ज्या वाट लागली आता बाहेर पडून ओपीडी चालू करतो. आणि तुम्ही तर सर्जन लोक आहात, तुमचे तर हात बीत शिवशिवत असणार की
हा जो टेरिबल असतो का, म्हणजे टाइम फ्रेम. समजा मला आता 3 आठवडे झाले, 4 आठवडे झाले, मी सर्जरी केली नाही, आता माझं हॉस्पिटल सुद्धा बसत चाललंय, मी पगार कसा देणार एम्प्लॉईजला, हात शिवत आहेत, So time frame has a control on that thinking.
सांगतो, time frame can contribute, okay, but time frame can contribute provided during that time frame you have played the same loop.
Okay.
तुम्ही जर तेच स्टेरिबलायझेशन लावून धरलं असेल की नाही, तर ते मग दिवसाबरोबर वाढत जाणार की नाही. म्हणजे आपण जेव्हा असं म्हणतो की म्हणजे टाइम इज द बेस्ट टीचर वगैरे असं म्हणतात की नाही, तर टाइम म्हणजे काळ हा एक मोठा काय शिक्षक आहे वगैरे, त्याच्या वर्गात बसला तर शिकवतो, त्याच्या वर्गात बसला तर शिकवतो. त्यामुळे नाहीतर टाइम फ्लोज एनिवे. तुम्ही जर रिपीट केलं तर तुम्ही सी, दॅट इज व्हॉट आय एम सेइंग, वी हॅव अ चॉईस टू हॅव दिस लूप ऑफ टेरिबलायझेशन, और वी हॅव अ चॉईस की इथे टेरिबलायझेशन आहे, इथे ट्रिव्हियलायझेशन आहे, मध्ये काय आहे. तर मध्ये आहे रिअलिस्टिक कॉन्सिक्वेन्सेस. मी कुठे राहतोय, कुठल्या झोन मध्ये आहे, माझ्या बाजूच्या काय काय गोष्टी आहेत, येणारा पेशंट कुठून येतोय, तो कुठल्या झोन मधून येतोय, रिस्क असेसमेंट, हे सगळं जे आहे ना ते मध्ये आहे. दॅट इज रिअलिस्टिक थिंकिंग अबाउट कॉन्सिक्वेन्सेस. सो द पॉइंट वॉज कॉन्सिक्वेन्सेस. द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज अल्टरनेटिव्ह. अल्टरनेटिव्ह म्हणजेच, नाव आय विल कम टू दॅट, की द्विधा मनस्थितीत काय होतं, मला अल्टरनेटिव्हच कळत नाही. नाव इफ यू फॉलो दिस लिंक from I can't stand it to I can stand it to goal to realistic thinking of consequences, avoiding terribilization and trivialization, now you are tuned to find out what are the realistic solutions that look today. आज मला रिअलिस्टिकली सोल्युशन्स कुठली दिसत आहेत आणि त्यातले मी कुठले अल्टरनेटिव्ह प्लॅन करू शकतो. सी, द मुवमेंट युअर माइंड टर्न्स टू अल्टरनेटिव्ह, थोडी एनर्जी वाढते, your energy gets more regulated. The alternative, you start some creative alternatives, getting some innovative alternatives, जे आपण सगळे काढतो माहितीये ना अलीकडे, की आपण सगळेजण इनोव्हेटिव्ह अल्टरनेटिव्ह काढतोय, आपण सगळेजण क्रिएटिव्ह अल्टरनेटिव्ह काढतोय. का? कारण आपल्याला काढायला पाहिजे ते. म्हणजे आज आपण स्वयंपाकाच्या मेनू पासून सुद्धा आपण क्रिएटिव्ह अल्टरनेटिव्ह काढतोय ना. म्हणजे आपल्याला आज काय राहिलंय, उद्या काय आहे, करतच होत आपण. अल्टरनेटिव्ह काढणं इज व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट, बिकॉज मोर द नंबर ऑफ अल्टरनेटिव्ह, some of them will be creative, some of them will be innovative. So I will suggest to all of you in a given situation, the moment you see a creative and an innovative alternative, please share it with the entire group. ती आयडिया ना सगळ्यांकडे वाटा, कारण तुमचे प्रॉब्लेम सेम आहेत. कुणाच्या तरी डोक्यात आयडिया येणार, यार हे ना ट्रीट करायची अशी गोष्ट झाली ना तर चांगलं आहे बाबा, किंवा मी ना माझ्या स्टाफला असा प्रोटोकॉल दिला ना त्याचा मला 15 दिवसामध्ये खूप फायदा जाणवला. यु नो, द पॉइंट इज देन द आयडिया गेट्स अ काइंड ऑफ अ कलेक्टिव्ह ओनरशिप. सो शेअरिंग ऑफ अल्टरनेटिव्ह ड्युरिंग द टाइम ऑफ क्रायसिस इज अ व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट आस्पेक्ट, कारण ते सगळ्यांना मग कॉर्टिकल लेवलला आणतं. म्हणजे मला चांगला अल्टरनेटिव्ह मिळाला, मी आलो लिम्बिक सिस्टीम मधनं कॉर्टेक्सला, नाव आय एम फिलिंग गुड, राईट, की आता मी याला सामना करेन याचा. पण ते मी इतरांना वाटलं ना, when I share it with everybody, you have such a wonderful body where you are sharing your experiences, knowledge and alternatives. तुम्ही अल्टरनेटिव्ह शेअरिंगची एक सेल करा. या काळामध्ये माणसांना आलेल्या अडचणी, म्हणजे आपल्या सगळ्या ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन्सना, त्यांनी त्याच्यावरती काढलेले उपाय, ते जर आपण केलो ना तर लोक रिफाईन करतील, लोक त्याच्यामध्ये अजून ऍड करतील, अजून कोणाला काहीतरी छान कल्पना येईल आणि त्या सगळ्यामधून एक सिस्टीम तयार होईल. सो कॉन्सिक्वेन्सेस आणि अल्टरनेटिव्ह, त्या अल्टरनेटिव्हची बँक तयार व्हायला पाहिजे क्रायसिस टाइम मध्ये. सिच्युएशन, तिचे अल्टरनेटिव्ह आणि त्याची बँक. सो इट इज इन अ वे अ आयडियाज का बँक, इट्स अ बँक ऑफ आयडियाज. ओके, all crisis time, if we pool our ideas together, that is actually a license to tide over the crisis. So pool your ideas. आणि आपल्याला ना, आपण सगळेजण मेडिकल पीपल, वी आर ट्यून टुवर्ड्स प्रॉब्लेम सॉल्विंग. आला प्रॉब्लेम, आता काय करू यार, डायग्नोसिस असं दिसते, आता काय करू, अरे ब्लड लॉस एवढा होणार आहे, असं करू का तसं करू, डायरेक्ट ओपन करू का स्कोपी करू, ह्याच्यामध्ये आपलं जीवन गेलेलं आहे. ओके, त्याच्यामुळे आपल्याला अल्टरनेटिव्ह काढणं हे काही वेगळी गोष्ट नाही आहे. आपण दिवसाला 50, 100, 200 अल्टरनेटिव्ह काढतो. फक्त आता आपल्याला ह्या क्रायसिस मधले जे ट्रिगर्स आहेत त्या ट्रिगर्स प्रमाणे निघणारे अल्टरनेटिव्ह पूल करायचे, सो दॅट आफ्टर 6 months 1 year your association is able to come up with strategies. Finally strategies come out of ideas, finally strategies come out of alternatives. बरोबर. सो
आता एक विचारू का, समजा अख्खा ग्रुपच, म्हणजे हे टिपिकली सेकंड वर्ल्ड वॉरच्या वेळेला झालं, द एंटायर कंट्री वॉज थिंकिंग निगेटिव्ह ऑर प्रो हिटलर. असं एखादा सिच्युएशन येऊ शकते का की अख्खा ग्रुपच निगेटिव्ह थिंक करतोय आणि मग अख्खा ग्रुपच चुकून, म्हणजे नॉट रॅशनली बट वॉक्स इन अ निगेटिव्ह डिरेक्शन, अशी सिच्युएशन येऊ शकते का? आणि जर तशी आली तर त्याच्यामधल्या एखाद्या लिडरला अख्खा ग्रुप पॉझिटिव्ह डायरेक्शन मध्ये कसा नेता येईल?
ह्या सगळ्याची हिस्ट्रीमध्ये प्रचंड आणि भरपूर उदाहरणं आहेत. पण त्याच्यामध्ये मला काय वाटतं बघ, आज आणि सेकंड वर्ल्ड वॉर ह्याच्यामध्ये खूप मोठा फरक आहे. आज ज्या ग्लोबलाइज्ड आणि ज्या टेक्नॉलॉजिकली सोफिस्टिकेटेड जगामध्ये आपण राहतो आणि त्या जगाचा आपण सामना करतो, तर आपल्यातल्या बहुसंख्य लोकांनी, आपल्यातल्या म्हणजे डॉक्टर्स, सर्जन्स, या मेडिकल फ्रॅटर्निटी मधल्या लोकांनी खरं म्हणजे कॉर्टिकल वरती जास्त राहणं अपेक्षित आहे आपल्याकडून. ओके, आपण खरं लिम्बिक सिस्टीमला जाणं हे कमी अपेक्षित आहे. बरोबर. त्यामुळे ही आपण आपली जबाबदारी आज कुठली असेल तर लिम्बिक सिस्टीमला कमीत कमी जाणं ही आज आपली जबाबदारीच आहे, इफ वी आर कॉलिंग आवरसेल्व्स द क्रीम ऑफ द सोसायटी. कारण हर्ड मेंटॅलिटी जिचा तू आता उल्लेख केला, ही कधी जास्त येते, लिम्बिक सिस्टीम कधी जास्त स्टिम्युलेट होते, ज्या वेळेला कॉर्टिकल डेव्हलपमेंट कमी झालेली असते तेव्हा. म्हणजे ज्या वेळेला एज्युकेशन, संस्कार, कंडिशनिंग या सगळ्या गोष्टी डेफिशियंट असतात तेव्हा. त्यामुळे मी आता हे संपूर्ण समाजाबद्दल नाही बोलत आहे, मी फक्त आपल्या गटाबद्दल बोलतोय.
बरोबर.
आणि म्हणूनच आपली डबल जबाबदारी आहे, एकतर स्वतःला कॉर्टिकल वरती ठेवायचं ऑपरेशनली. लिम्बिक सिस्टीम येणार, लिम्बिक सिस्टीमचे इमोशन्स येणार, पण त्यांची इंटेन्सिटी, फ्रिक्वेन्सी, ड्युरेशन काढून स्वतःला कॉर्टिकल वरती ठेवायचं आणि मग इतरांना कॉर्टिकल वरती राहण्यासाठी मदत करायची.
बरोबर.
म्हणजे ज्या द सेकंड वर्ल्ड वॉर एक्झाम्पल दॅट यू गेव, यु नो, फॉर एक्झाम्पल तुम्ही डंकर हा पिक्चर पाहिलाय का बघा. सो द मूव्ही डंकर, क्रिस्टोफर नोलनचा जो मूव्ही आहे तो बघा. सो इन दॅट मूव्ही ऍक्च्युअली डंकर्क इज समथिंग दॅट इज अ डिफीट, राईट. सो देर आर सो मेनी सोल्जर्स विच आर देअर, त्या अडकून पडलेले आहेत आणि त्यांना तो बोटीनं आणतो. पण चर्चिला माणूस असा आहे की तो त्या परिस्थिती आणि दृष्टिकोन हे दोन वेगळे करतो. तो म्हणतो परिस्थिती ही आहे की जिला सगळेजण डिफीट म्हणतील, पण मी त्याला दृष्टिकोन देईन व्हिक्टरीचा. लीडर्स काय करतात, लीडर्स ट्राय टू चेंज द सिच्युएशन, बट दे ऑल्सो ट्राय टू चेंज द ॲटिट्यूड टुवर्ड्स द मेजॉरिटी ऑफ लुकिंग ॲट द सिच्युएशन. हे लक्षात घ्या. चर्चिल ऍट दॅट टाइम एक्झॅक्टली डज धिस. त्या चित्रपटामध्ये दाखवलंय बघा की ते थकून भागून येतात आणि त्यांना तो काम हे देतो, ब्लँकेट देतो, कॉफी देतो, वेल डन माय लॅड, वेल डन माय लॅड. तर तो म्हणतो आम्ही भगोडे आहोत, आम्ही तर पळून आलोत. म्हणतात ना, यू आर द हिरो. त्याचं कारण असं की या चर्चिलनं आदल्या दिवशी फाईट ऑन द बीचेस, त्याचं जे ते फेमस स्पीच आहे त्याच्यामध्ये त्याने सांगितलं असतं की ज्या अर्थी मी माझ्या लाखो मुलांना जिवंत आणलंय त्या अर्थी तो माझा विजय. हे ते तिकडे मेलेले नाहीयेत, त्यांच्याकडे आज शस्त्र नाहीयेत, पण ते तर आलेत, हे उद्या शस्त्रसज्ज होऊन परत लागतील. सो ही चेंजेस द होल ॲटिट्यूड ऑफ हिज पीपल. सो वी आर नॉट ॲज ग्रेट ॲज चर्चिल, फाईन, पण आपल्या सर्कल ऑफ इन्फ्लुएन्स मध्ये आपण कॉर्टेक्सला राहायचा प्रयत्न करणं रादर, आणि आपल्या सर्कल ऑफ इन्फ्लुएन्स मध्ये आपण त्यांना कॉर्टेक्सला आणायचा प्रयत्न करणं. ते आपण कसं करू शकतो? यू अँड मी मे नॉट हॅव कंट्रोल ओव्हर दी स्टॅटिस्टिक्स अँड uncontrollable factors, but you and me will always have this freedom to mold our attitudes. So going back, आपण होतो consequences आणि alternatives. त्याच्या पुढचा भाग आहे, पुढचा मुद्दा आहे परफॉर्मन्स नॉट पर्सन. म्हणजे आता आपल्याला फोकस करायचं आहे, आपल्याला टीमवर्क करायला लागणार आहे. प्रत्येकाच्या इन्क्लुडिंग आपल्या परफॉर्मन्स वरती लक्ष द्यायचंय. पर्सन म्हणजे काय माहितीये, डोंट बी जजमेंटल. इन द टाइम ऑफ क्राइसिस वी ऑल स्टार्ट बिकमिंग व्हेरी जजमेंटल, व्हेरी बायस, वी स्टार्ट ब्लेमिंग. हे सुरू झालं की समजा आपण चाललो लिम्बिक सिस्टीम. वेन वी स्टार्ट ब्लेमिंग, आणि काही लोक तर कोरोनाच्याच नावावरती बिल फाडतायत. म्हणजे ब्लेम दुसऱ्या कोणाच्या नावावरती करायचा. सो बिल फाडणं सुरू झालं ना की समजायचं आता कॉर्टेक्स नाही, आता लिम्बिक सिस्टीम. सो आपल्याला परफॉर्मन्स वरती फोकस करायचं, पर्सन वर नाही. आता सुद्धा आपली टीम असेल ना, काही लोक सोडून गेले असतील, काही लोक यायला घाबरतील आपल्या हॉस्पिटलमध्ये, त्या वेळेला विल हॅव टू फोकस ऑन परफॉर्मन्स. हे परफॉर्मन्स मला कसे टिकवायचे. माझे पर्सनल प्रेज्युडायसेस विल बी देअर रिगार्डिंग पीपल, बट इन द टाइम ऑफ क्राइसिस, even though I will have my personal prejudices, I will have to work on how not to enter them, let them enter in the common goal. म्हणजे माझ्या टीम मध्ये एखादा माणूस असेल ज्याची माझा माणूस म्हणून पटत नसेल, पण आता मला इमर्जन्सी केअर द्यायची, तो स्किल्ड आहे, त्याची मला गरज लागणार आहे, तर प्रेज्युडाइज घालवू नका, पण तो बाजूला ठेवा. निदान कॉमन गोल मध्ये तो न आणण्याचा आपण प्रयत्न करूया. सो दॅट इज व्हॉट आय एम सेइंग, दॅट focus on performance, not on person. Focus on the next keyword. पुढचा keyword, problem versus blame. Focus on problem, not on blame. कारण ब्लेम वरती आपण गेलो की लिम्बिक सिस्टीमला गेलो, प्रॉब्लेम सॉल्व्हिंगला गेलो की आपण कॉर्टेक्सला आलो. म्हणजे ना, व्हॉट आय एम ट्राइंग टू सेन्सिटाइज आवर मेंबर्स ऑफ द असोसिएशन इज अंडरस्टँड अँड बी अवेअर ऑफ दिस ट्रॅव्हल. हा लिम्बिक सिस्टीम कॉर्टेक्स वाला ट्रॅव्हल आहे, आणि तो ट्रॅव्हल आपल्याला अवेअरनेस मध्ये आणण्यासाठी आपण हे सगळे शब्द जर लिहिले, ते जर आपल्या डोक्यामध्ये ठेवले, तर आपल्याला त्याचा फायदा होईल कॉर्टेक्सला राहण्यासाठी. ओके, मग आपण समजा कॉर्टेक्सला राहिलो म्हणजे आपण असह्यवरनं सह्यवरती आलो, त्यानंतर विल हॅव टू स्टे पुट. स्टे पुट याचा अर्थ असा की तिथं आम्हाला काय दाखवावं लागेल, रेझिलियन्स. विल हॅव टू शो अन इमोशन विच इज कॉल्ड एज रेझिलियन्स. दॅट रेझिलियन्स मीन्स दॅट आय विल नॉट लेट इट गो, आय विल नॉट लेट इट स्लिप, आय विल बी रेझिलियंट. व्हेन दी टॉलरेबल इमोशन्स अँड द रेझिलियन्स कम टुगेदर, that is called as cautious optimism. Cautious optimism. So all our office bearers are trying to tell us that be on cautious optimism. पण त्याला आता मी जी सगळी साखळी लावली ती अशी लावली की कॉशियस ऑप्टिमिझमला येण्यासाठी सुरुवात असह्य भावनांपासून करायला पाहिजे. ते जर आम्ही केलं तर आम्ही कॉशियस ऑप्टिमिझमला येऊ. बरं, आल्यावरती ना आम्ही तिथेच राहू याची गॅरंटी नाही. मध्ये मध्ये आम्हाला लिम्बिक सिस्टीमचे स्पाइक्स येणार. म्हणजे
अवॉइड करता येतात का पण बाय ट्रेनिंग युअर माइंड?
हो, पण त्याला ती आपण जर आत्तापासून ती साधना म्हणून घेऊया ना, आपण आपल्या स्वतःची साधना म्हणून घेऊया. तुला गंमत सांगतो, दिस वर्ड रेझिलियन्स in Sanskrit is called titiksha, and in Marathi Jnaneshwar has used a word which is called as sahana siddhi. सहन शक्ती नाही, सहन सिद्धी. रेझिलियन्स शिकावा लागतो, त्याचं साधक व्हायला लागतं, आणि मग ती सिद्धी आपल्याला मिळते. त्यामुळे आपल्याला ही इंटेन्सिटी, फ्रिक्वेन्सी, ड्युरेशन कमी करायची आहे. असं जायचं ना आपल्याला. वी डोंट एम ऍट परफेक्ट इमोशनल रेग्युलेशन. कारण कोण परफेक्ट आहे, कोण आयडियल आहे, कोणीच नाही. पण आपण निदान इंटेन्सिटी, फ्रिक्वेन्सी, ड्युरेशन वरती काम करू शकतो का नाही? काम करू शकतो. सो वी हॅव टू मूव्ह टुवर्ड्स दॅट. नाउ माय पॉइंट इज की ऑल आवर ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन कलिग्स अँड फ्रेंड्स, दे आर वंडरफुल इन प्रॉब्लेम सॉल्विंग. ओके, दुसरी गोष्ट, दे हॅव स्पीड. म्हणजे मी ना असा फार स्लो असा ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन फारच क्वचित पाहिजे. म्हणजे सगळ्या माणसांची एनर्जी लेवल ही अगदी व्यवस्थित असते. त्यामुळे यू आर एनर्जेटिक, यू नो हाऊ टू सॉल्व्ह प्रॉब्लेम्स. बहुतेक लोकांना मी जे म्हणतोय ते ऑपरेशन टेबल वरती, तुम्ही त्यावेळेला कॉर्टिकल असता, आपण सगळे ऑपरेशन टेबल वरती, प्रोसिजर करत असताना 10 पॅरामीटर्सना मॉनिटर करत असताना ऑल ऑफ अस आर कॉर्टिकल. म्हणजे कॉर्टिकल असणं आपल्यासाठी नवलाची गोष्ट नाही. बरोबर आहे. ही परिस्थिती आपल्याला लिंबिक सिस्टीम कडे खेचण्याचा प्रयत्न करेल, पण आपला ऍटिट्यूड आपल्या हातात आहे हे जर आपण सतत स्वतःला रिमाइंड करत राहिलो आणि जर रिअलिस्टिक राहिलो तर मेनी ऑफ अस विल कम टू द लेवल ऑफ कॉशियस ऑप्टिमिझम. आता मी तुला पुढची गोष्ट सांगतो. यू टॉक्ड अबाउट हर्ड बिहेवियर. त्याच्याबद्दल तू बोललास. त्याच्या उलट बिहेवियरही इतिहासाने पाहिलेलं. ते बिहेवियर काय आहे ते मी तुला सांगतो. दॅट इज कॉल्ड ॲज, it starts with cortex. It starts with cooperation because cortex always says cooperation. Limbic system always says competition. लिंबिक सिस्टीम म्हणजे कॉम्पिटिशन. आज हा तिकडे पुढे गेलाय, हा ना 4 वर्षापूर्वी आला, पण ह्याची प्रॅक्टिस एवढी कशी चांगली चालली आहे इज लिंबिक सिस्टीम. कारण ती नेहमी स्पर्धा करते कॉम्पिटिशनची. किंवा हे नाही 10 वर्षात एवढं घर कसं बांधलं, 3 गाड्या कशा घेतल्या, कॉम्पिटिशन. सो लिंबिक सिस्टीम हे सगळे लिंबिक सिस्टीम आहेत बरं का, कॉम्पिटिशनचे थॉट. कॉर्टेक्स इज कोऑपरेशन. नाव द सर्कमस्टन्सेस आर टेलिंग अस टू कोऑपरेट. ओके, वी हॅव टू स्टार्ट विथ कोऑपरेशन अँड मूव्ह टुवर्ड्स कोलॅबोरेशन. व्हॉट इज द एक्झॅक्ट डिफरन्स? कोऑपरेशन इज बिकॉज ऑफ द सिच्युएशन अँड द सर्कमस्टान्सेस, आणि त्याच्यावरती परिस्थितीचा दट्ट्या असतो. So in that पंचतंत्र story, there are birds who are under the net. शिकाऱ्याच्या जाळ्यामध्ये सगळे पक्षी सापडतात. एक एकटा करून उडायला बघतो, त्यांना उडता येत नाही. मग सगळेजण महाराष्ट्र ऑर्थोपेडिक असोसिएशन तयार करतात आणि मग सगळेजण उडतात, तेव्हा ते जाळं घेऊन उडतात. राईट, दॅट इज कोऑपरेशन. वी आर इन द फेज ऑफ कोऑपरेशन. व्हॉट इज कोलॅबोरेशन? After getting the freedom in the sky, all the birds decides using their own conscience that we have a common direction that we have selected, and all of us will have a formation and a design, and we will fly in that direction out of our own free will. That is collaboration. त्या वेळेला माझ्यावरती परिस्थितीनं किंवा कोणीही दडपण नाही आणलेलं, सक्ती नाही केलेली. आय हॅव टेकन माय ओन फ्री चॉईस. दॅट इज कोलॅबोरेशन. आणि तो जर कोलॅबोरेशनचा भाग मी जर घेतला, इफ आय गो फ्रॉम कोऑपरेशन टू कोलॅबोरेशन, सो आय एम गिव्हिंग दिस मेटाफर टू यू बिकॉज आय एम ॲड्रेसिंग अ असोसिएशन.
Yes.
And as an association, if we can really go from cooperation to collaboration, then what happens? A harmony is created. In that harmony, there is a give and take of talent, and there is a give and take of service. And then if you have that, then you go neurochemically and neurologically also to the next set of emotions. The next set of emotions beyond cortex, I'll touch that and stop. Beyond cortex, there is a prefrontal neocortex. And the prefrontal neocortex, we had primitive emotions, we have productive emotions at the cortex, आणि ह्या ज्या आहेत त्यांना आपण म्हणतो उन्नत भावना. या उन्नत भावना आहेत, दे आर प्रोग्रेसिव्ह इमोशन्स. सो इफ यू आर ऑन कोलॅबोरेशन ट्रॅक, यू टेंड टू गो टुवर्ड्स प्रोग्रेसिव्ह इमोशन्स. प्रोग्रेसिव्ह इमोशन्स म्हणजे काय? की माझ्या स्वतःच्या हिताच्या पलीकडे जाऊन निरपेक्ष वृत्तीनं मी समाजासाठी काम करत. सो प्रोग्रेसिव्ह इमोशन कडे जर मला जायचं असेल तर माझी बैठक कॉर्टिकल छान पाहिजे. म्हणजे व्यवहाराला मी उत्तम पाहिजे. जोडून या धन उत्तम व्यवहारे, उदासे विचारे वेच करी. उदासे विचारे वेच करी इज निओ कॉर्टिकल, आणि जोडून या धन उत्तम व्यवहारे इज कॉर्टिकल. त्यामुळे कॉर्टिकलला तुम्ही छान असल्याशिवाय तुम्हाला निओ कॉर्टिकलला जाता येत नाही. म्हणून आपण आता निओ कॉर्टिकलला जायचा अट्टास नाही धरायचा. आता आपण कुठे लिंबिक सिस्टीम आपल्याला जरा तिची फ्रिक्वेन्सी, इंटेन्सिटी, ड्युरेशन कमी करायची. मग आपल्याला कॉर्टेक्स वरती राहायचंय. मग आपण कोलॅबोरेशनच्या लेव्हलला गेलो की मग आपल्यामध्ये तो निओ कॉर्टिकल टच आपोआप येईल. somebody mentioned in the last half an hour only, this has given us some opportunity to look at our own selves. ते मला छान वाटलं. तर ती ही अपॉर्च्युनिटी आहे. पण त्यासाठी पहिल्यांदा आता आपल्याला कॉर्टेक्सवरती नीट राहायचं आणि मग आपल्याला त्या अल्ट्रुइझमकडे जायचं, मग आपल्याला त्या सेल्फलेसनेसकडे जायचं. हे सध्या आपण लक्षात ठेवू, ही प्रस्तावना आहे. तुम्ही मला जेव्हा पुढे बोलवाल तेव्हा मग मी या भावनांच्या वरती वेगळं बोलेन. पण हा जो कॉर्टिकल मधला टच आहे तो काय आहे, मी अलोन विल नॉट बी एबल टू डू. मला सगळ्यांची मदत लागेल. म्हणून मला तुमच्या व्होट ऑफ थँक्स मधलं सगळ्यात कुठला व्होट ऑफ थँक्स आवडला असेल तर सगळेजण आपण घरी आहोत आणि त्यांनी घरच्या लोकांचे आभार मानले. आय वॉज रिअली टच्ड बाय दॅट. कारण दॅट इज द स्टार्ट ऑफ नॉट ओनली कोऑपरेशन बट कोलॅबोरेशन. कारण तिथे ना त्या व्होट ऑफ थँक्स मध्ये मला ती एम्पथी दिसली की यार आपण सगळेजण, तुम्ही तर जास्त, मी आता 1 तासाने जाईन पण तुम्ही तर 3 तास 4 तास 5 तास बसणार आहात. बरं, नेहमीचे स्टिम्युलंट्सही नाहीयेत. म्हणजे तुम्हाला सगळ्यांना व्यवस्थितपणे आपापल्या घरी बसून हे सगळं ज्ञानग्रहण वगैरे वगैरे करायचंय. तरी संध्याकाळी छान गाण्याचा वगैरे कार्यक्रम आहे, तुम्ही बघितला तर मला लिंक पाठव. मी 8:30ला त्याला नक्की जॉईन होईल. बट दॅट इज हाऊ वी हॅव टू बी. आणि प्लीज अंडरस्टँड वन थिंग, हे लास्ट पॉइंट, हे सगळं करत असताना इमोशनल रेग्युलेशन, आपले चेहरे लांब असण्याची गरज नाही. हा म्हणजे आता हे जगाचं काहीतरी माझ्यावरती पडलंय, आता काय होणार, काही गरज नाही. तुम्ही सगळे, खास करून ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन, हे किती छान आनंद प्लेजर्स घेतात हे मला पक्क माहिती आहे. त्यामुळे दचकून बिचकून जाण्याची काही गरज नाही. You have that energy, you have taken a lot of things in your strides already. आणि ह्या सगळ्याच्या मध्ये फक्त ही भर पडली आहे, आपण सगळे एक आहोत. फ्रॉम कोऑपरेशन टू कोलॅबोरेशन आपण गेलो तर आपल्याला या सगळ्या गोष्टी जमणार आहेत. हे लक्षात ठेवून आता आपण स्टँड इट हे प्रत्यक्ष वर्तनामध्ये दाखवूया.
हे सगळं कळलं सर, फारच उत्तम समजवलं. वी विल ट्राय टू कोऑपरेट, वी विल ट्राय टू कोलॅबोरेट. फक्त एक शेवटचा प्रश्न अजून एक, मी हॉस्पिटलवरनं परत जेव्हा घरी येणार किंवा माझं कुटुंब किंवा माझे नॉन मेडिकल फ्रेंड्स ते थोडेसे मला दूर करणार, अशी एक भीती जी वाटते मनात, ती कशी काय डील करायची?
ती पुन्हा ती कॉर्टेक्स लेवलला आणायची, ती रिअलिस्टिक ठेवायची. लोक माझ्याशी अशा पद्धतीने वागू शकतात, मी त्यांच्याशी कसा वागणार हा माझा प्रश्न आहे. म्हणजे त्याच्यामध्ये लोकांची मतं आपण काही डायरेक्ट बदलायला जाणार नाही. प्लीज लक्षात घ्या, हे सगळं आपल्यामधून होणार आहे. मगाचा माझा मुद्दा होता की आपण कॉर्टिकल का राहायला पाहिजे, आपण रिअलिस्टिक का राहायला पाहिजे, आपण ऑप्शन्स का शोधत राहायला पाहिजे. त्याचं कारण हे आहे, डॉक्टर हा एका बाजूने इमोशनल रोल मॉडेल आहे आणि आपल्याकडे लोक इमोशनल रोल मॉडेल म्हणून बघणार आहेत. आताच्या काळामध्ये तर जास्त बघणार आहेत. त्याच्यामुळं आपण इमोशनल रोल मॉडेल आहोत हे जर आपण लक्षात घेतलं तर काही जण आपल्याकडे तसे बघतील आणि त्यांना बघू दे. आपण आपलं काम चालू ठेवलं की त्यांचा जो काही प्रेज्युडाईस असेल तो प्रेज्युडाईस हळूहळू बदलेल. आता ह्याच्यातली कन्सर्न काय आहे बघा, कन्सर्न ही टॉलरेबल इमोशन आहे, ती सह्य भावना आहे. कन्सर्न असली पाहिजे. मी हॉस्पिटलमधून परत येताना संपूर्ण काळजी घेणं, घरी आल्यावरती संपूर्ण काळजी घेणं, त्या या ज्या गोष्टी आहेत ना या अपरिहार्य आहेत. आता ह्या अपरिहार्य गोष्टी धरून माझ्या मनामध्ये भीतीचा किंतु आणि भीतीचा तंतू येणार, फक्त त्याचं रूपांतर वादळामध्ये न करणं हेच मी करू.
बरोबर.
भीतीचा तंतू आणि भीतीचा किंतु का नाकारायचा? वी आर ऑल ह्युमन बिईंग्स यार. तो नसला समजा भीतीचा तंतू आणि कंतू, हा तंतू नसला आणि तो किंतू नसला तर आपण बेपरवाईने वागू. ते आवश्यक आहे. ओके, म्हणूनच काही प्रमाणातली भीती, म्हणून कॉर्टिकल लेवलला असते ती कन्सर्न, लिम्बिक सिस्टीम लेवलला असते ती अँझायटी. कन्सर्नला आपण राहायचंय म्हणून काय, कॉशियस ऑप्टिमिझम, सावध राहायचंय. कन्सर्न, अलर्टनेस, ह्या गोष्टी कॉर्टेक्स आहे. कॉर्टेक्स इज अलर्ट. त्यामुळे ते आपण डोक्यात ठेवूया. मग हे सगळं झाल्यावरती आपल्या कोपिंग वरती काय काय होणार ते आपण बघू ना. मी तुला एक गमतीची गोष्ट सांगतो. वन ऑफ माय म्हणजे आमची जी IPS ठाण्याची संस्था आहे, सो वी आर इन अ बिल्डिंग. So we are running our OPD all 40 days. So we are taking good care of ourselves, of our staff, and we are the only people in Thane area who are giving 4 hours a day service, direct service, in addition to online service to people. खरं म्हणजे आम्हाला सगळं ऑनलाईन जाता येणं शक्य आहे, पण कारण आम्ही काय तपासत नाही, आम्ही प्रोसिजर करत नाही. पण आमचं म्हणणं असं की तो ह्युमन टच महत्वाचा आहे. सगळे लोक ऑनलाईन जाऊ शकत नाहीत. माझी डायरेक्ट आणि इनडायरेक्ट मिळून ठाण्याच्या IPSला जवळजवळ 80 लोक रोज येत आहेत, म्हणजे ऑनलाईन आणि प्रत्यक्ष. सो वेन वी आर रनिंग दिस, माय पॉइंट वॉज की मी त्या बिल्डिंगच्या सोसायटीच्या लोकांनी ऑब्जेक्शन घेतलं इमिजिएटली. तुमच्याकडून बाहेरून लोक येणार, तुम्ही OPD बंद करा. आय हॅड टू बी असर्टिव्ह ॲट दॅट टाइम की हे मी करणार आहे. आणि आम्ही बघा एवढे हे घेतोय, आम्ही खालीच चढण्याआधीच टेम्परेचर घेतोय, त्याला काय डिसइन्फेक्ट करतोय, त्याचं नाव लिहून घेतोय, माझा कन्सेंट फॉर्म वेगळा आहे, मी त्याचा हिस्ट्री फॉर्म वरती केलेला आहे. हे ऑल प्रोसिजर्स, माझा सगळा स्टाफ आहे, त्यांना शील्ड दिलेला आहे, आतमध्ये मास्क दिलेला आहे. मग तुम्ही हे सगळं बघा, आणि हे तरी तुमची जर गडबड असेल तर मग जिल्हाधिकारी आणि एपिडेमिक ऍक्ट तुम्हाला सांगतो. मग ते लोक त्या वेळेला नाराजीने गप्प बसले. आज 30 दिवस झाल्याच्या नंतर मला त्यातलेच काही लोक येऊन म्हणतात, तुम्ही खूप खूप छान काम करताय. हा, आता हे नंतर होणार ना. करताना छान कधी म्हटलंय का कुणाला दुनियेने? कधीच नाही म्हटलेलं. सो वी विल हॅव टू स्टँड इट. दॅट इज द मिनिंग ऑफ वी कॅन स्टँड इट. त्यामुळे हे आपल्याला करायला लागेल, आणि वी विल हॅव टू बी फ्लेक्सिबल. म्हणजे आता आमचे सपोर्ट ग्रुप्स आमच्या संस्थेमध्ये, आमच्याकडे इकडं 13 आणि तिकडे पुण्याला 11, आम्ही 24 सपोर्ट ग्रुप चालवतो. आम्ही आमचे जवळजवळ सगळे सपोर्ट ग्रुप ऑनलाईन केले, कारण ते आम्ही करू शकलो. त्याचा आमच्या पेशंटना इतका फायदा झाला, कारण मुंबई परिसरामध्ये प्रवास आणि म्हणजे आधी तर वाईटच होता आणि आता तर अशक्य. पण ह्या सगळ्याच्यामुळे तो टच राहायला लागला. सो अल्टरनेटिव्ह, फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी, अल्टरनेटिव्ह, आणि आता आपल्याला आपलं ध्येय माहिती आहे ना काय येते, तर करत राहायचं. मग त्याच्यामध्ये काही लोक आपल्याला नाही म्हणणार चांगलं, ठीक आहे.
पण मला सांगा सर की हा जो रेझिलियन्स किंवा फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी आहे, ही जर आत्ताच मी आत्मसात केली नाही आणि मेक इट ॲज वे ऑफ माय लाईफ, जसं जसं वय वाढतं तसं ते रेझिलियन्स, अडॅप्टिबिलिटी कमी होते का?
काही जणांची होते, काही जणांची नाही होत. हा, म्हणजे मी तुला एक गंमत सांगतो. हे ना क्रोनॉलॉजिकल एज वरती ॲटिट्यूडिनल फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी अजिबात अवलंबून नाही, अजिबात नाही. कारण आज मी असं पाहतोय, मी परवा कोरोनाच्या हिस्ट्री शीटसाठी क्लिनिकल प्रोटोकॉल तयार करत होतो. म्हणजे माझ्याकडे OPDला येणाऱ्यांचा, आमचं जे मुक्तांगण व्यसनमुक्ती केंद्र आहे तिकडे आम्ही जेव्हा ऍडमिशन सुरू करू तेव्हा वी आर गोइंग टू फेस द सेम प्रॉब्लेम्स. माझा आता आय एम असोसिएटेड विथ अ जेरियाट्रिक केअर सेंटर इन पुणे. माझ्याकडे आत्ता 70 आजी आजोबा आहेत, सगळ्यात हायेस्ट 103 वर्ष. त्यांना आम्ही जपतो आहोत, म्हणजे ऑल 24 आवर्स. सो ह्या सगळ्या चॅलेंजेस आहेत. तर क्लिनिकल प्रोटोकॉल मी तयार करत होतो, तर मला त्याच्यात कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट कोणी केलं? माझे सर डॉक्टर VS आसगावकर, डॉक्टर विजय आसगावकर. ही इज अ डायबिटिशियन, बट ही वॉज ऑनररी ॲट कस्तुरबा हॉस्पिटल फॉर मोर दॅन 30 इयर्स. खूप जणांना माहिती असणार मुंबईतून केलेल्या, कारण कस्तुरबाला सगळ्यांनी त्यांच्याकडे इन्फेक्शस डिसीजची पोस्ट केली. 91 वर्षे वय. त्यांनी मला क्लिनिकल प्रोटोकॉल करून दिला, तो व्यवस्थितपणे ईमेल वरती पाठवला, त्याच्या बरोबर सगळ्या लिंक्स पाठवल्या. हे सगळं सरांनी, ती फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी 91 वर्षी, गेले अनेक वर्ष कॅन्सर त्यांच्याकडे आहे, हा सगळा धरून माणूस ती फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी 91 वर्षी दाखवू शकतो. पण तुझा मुद्दा मी असा घेईन की ही अपॉर्च्युनिटी आहे असं सगळ्यांनी मानूया, रिगार्डलेस ऑफ अवर एज ग्रुप. म्हणजे आम्ही सिनियर आहोत का ज्युनियर आहोत, अडॅप्टेबिलिटी वरती काम करण्याची मला ही संधी मिळाली आहे, हे आपण मानूया ना. ते मानायला काहीच हरकत नाही.
बरोबर. खूप छान वाटलं सर, एक्सलंट. म्हणजे तुमच्याशी बोलून इतकं छान वाटलं. म्हणजे अक्षरशः गीतासार सांगितल्यासारखं तुम्ही हाऊ वी शुड कंडक्ट आवर ओन वे ऑफ लाईफ हे सांगितलं.
शेवटी फक्त 1-2 सूचना सांगतो.
हो, सांगा ना सर.
आवाहन IPH हे आपलं YouTube चॅनल आहे. आमचं आवाहन AVAHAN, आवाहन IPH. हे आपलं युट्यूब चॅनल आहे, द ओनली युट्यूब चॅनल डेडिकेटेड टू मेंटल हेल्थ इन द कंट्री. त्याच्यावरती खूप साऱ्या आत्ताच्या परिस्थितीला सामोरं जाण्यासाठीच्या फाईल्स उपलब्ध आहेत. त्या मी तुम्हाला पटकन सांगतो, नोट करा. तर आयदर म्हणजे पहिलं आवाहन IPH हे सबस्क्राईब करा. त्याच्यावरती करण्याचे दिवस कळण्याचे दिवस नावाचं या दिवसातलं मनस्वास्थ्य कसं ठेवावं याची एक ऑडिओ लेखमाला मी टाकतोय. आज त्याचा 9वा एपिसोड आला. 9 एपिसोड त्याचे आहेत. त्याच्यानंतर माझे कोरोनाच्या संदर्भातले 2 व्हिडिओज आहेत, मराठी आणि इंग्रजी. त्याच्यावरती ते तुम्हाला पाहता येतील. एक व्यक्तित्व विकासाची आमची व्हिडिओ मालिका सध्या चालू आहे, त्याचे 13 एपिसोड झालेले आहेत, ते तुम्ही पाहू शकता. स्ट्रेस मॅनेजमेंट वरती एक माझी ऑडिओ मालिका आहे आमच्या चॅनलवरती. तिचं नाव आहे सायंकाळची संवादमाला. 30 मिनिटाचे 16 ऑडिओज आहेत ते. त्याच्यानंतर चॅनलाइज युअर एक्स्ट्रा टेन्शन नावाच्या फाईल्स आहेत, मराठी आणि इंग्रजी, ज्याच्यामध्ये इफ यू फेस एन्झायटी, हाऊ टू एक्सपिरियन्स प्रोग्रेसिव्ह मस्क्युलर रिलॅक्सेशन, हाऊ टू गिव्ह पॉझिटिव्ह अफर्मेशन्स टू युअर माइंड, हे मराठी आणि इंग्रजी अशा वेगळ्या फाईल्स आहेत ऑडिओ. तेव्हा त्या रिलॅक्सेशन साठी तुम्हाला सगळ्यांना वापरता येतील. ऍडिशनली आम्ही केलेल्या शॉर्ट फिल्म्स आहेत. आमचा वेध नावाचा जो उपक्रम आहे त्याचे जवळजवळ 225 त्या मुलाखती आमच्या चॅनलवरती आहेत. तेव्हा हे सगळं तुम्ही निश्चितपणे पहा, त्याचा लाभ घ्या. आवाहन IPH आमच्या चॅनलचा.
अगदी निश्चितपणे सर. म्हणजे आता बाय दिस टाइम ऑलमोस्ट 2,500-3 हजार श्रोते तुम्हाला ऐकत होते आणि दे हॅव बीन ॲब्सोल्युटली ब्लेस्ड बाय युअर ग्रेट स्पीच, वे ऑफ टेलिंग, टिप्स अँड ट्रिक्स, हाऊ वी कॅन मॉडिफाय अवर वे ऑफ थिंकिंग. कारण की आम्ही बेसिकली ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन ना सर खूप जास्ती विचार करत नाही आणि सडनली जेव्हा विचार करायला लागतो तेव्हा भलत्याच डायरेक्शन मध्ये विचार करतो. म्हणून हे वे ऑफ थिंकिंग इज अ ग्रेट आयडिया.
सुश्रुत, मला काय वाटतं माहितीये, ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन हे फास्ट विचार करतात. त्यामुळे मी त्यांना चांगलं, अरे माझे इतके ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन मित्र आहेत म्हणजे तू धरून आणि ते फास्ट करतात विचार आणि ते त्यांनी मेरिट म्हणून घेतलं पाहिजे. म्हणजे आपल्याला आता फास्ट आणि अप्रोप्रिएट दोन्ही विचार करायचा. फास्ट विचार करायची सवय सोडू नका, त्याच्यात अप्रोप्रिएटनेस फक्त घाला, ते झालं.
Thank you very much, sir. We have been blessed by your presence today.
प्रश्न विचारायचा आहे कोणाला?
प्रश्न आहेत का अशोक?
मी डॉक्टर करणे.
करणे सर बोला ना, प्रश्न आहे तुम्हाला?
या तर मला ऑडिओ आहे, व्हिडिओ नाहीये.
चालेल, बोला सर.
सरांनी पहिल्या सर्वप्रथम सरांचं अभिनंदन केलं. त्यांनी अतिशय सोप्या शब्दामध्ये अतिशय गहन विषय समजावून सांगितला. ही 1 तास ही काही पुरेशी वेळ नाही हे सगळं होण्यासाठी. तर ते एक महत्वाचा विचार होता की हा रेझिलियन्स प्रत्येकाला डेव्हलप झाला पाहिजे, हा भाग आहे. काहींना तो इन्वॉल्व नसतो, जे तुम्ही उदाहरणं दिली डॉक्टर आजगावकरांचं किंवा अनेक लोकांचं, ज्यांना तो इन्वॉल्व नसतो. पण बऱ्याच लोकांना ती गिफ्ट नसते. रादर दे आर ॲट द अदर एक्स्ट्रीम ऑफ द इमोशन्स नॅचरली. सो मग पण त्यांना तर आयुष्यात पुढे जायचं असतं, तर अशा लोकांना हे डेव्हलप होण्यासाठी काय करावं लागेल?
खूप काही करता येईल. म्हणजे आता मी तुम्हाला फक्त आमचं आवाहन IPH YouTube सांगितलं, पण पुस्तकं खूप आहेत या विषयावरची, इमोशनल रेग्युलेशनवरची. माझी स्वतःची मराठी इंग्रजीत आहेत, बाकी जगामधल्या उत्तम लेखकांची सुद्धा आहेत. या सगळ्या इमोशनल रेग्युलेशन वरती आता उत्तम ऑनलाईन पासूनचे कोर्सेस सुद्धा उपलब्ध आहेत. आमच्या IPH मध्ये आम्ही डायरेक्ट कोर्सेस घेतोच, पण ऑनलाईन सुद्धा इमोशनल रेग्युलेशनचे कोर्सेस उपलब्ध आहेत. त्याचं कारण सांगतो सर आपल्याला, की इमोशन्स कॅन बी मोल्डेड इरिस्पेक्टिव्ह ऑफ युअर एज अँड स्टेज इन लाईफ. इमोशन्स ह्या मुळातच डायनॅमिक आहेत, त्यामुळे त्याच्यावरती आपण कधीही काम करू शकतो. सुदैवाने आज आपल्याकडे बरेचसे मार्ग उपलब्ध आहेत, त्याचा आपण लाभ घ्यावा. आणि आता आपल्याला विज्ञान असं सांगतंय की आपलं ही इमोशनल रेग्युलेशन आणि इम्युनिटी यांचा फार महत्वाचा संबंध आहे. परवाच्या रविवारी तुम्ही लोकसत्ता, आता पेपर येतोय तो वाचा, त्याच्यामध्ये मी एक पूर्ण मोठा लेख लिहिलाय, लीड आर्टिकल लिहिलंय, द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन इमोशन्स अँड इम्युनिटी. तर तो आपल्यासाठी खूप महत्वाचा एक भाग आहे, तर तोही एक डोक्यात ठेवा.
दुसरा एक भाग असा असतो की एक सुरुवातीला आपल्याला माहिती खूप असतं, इन्फॉर्मेशन असते, नॉलेज असतं, पण ऐन वेळेला म्हणजे क्रिकेट कसं खेळायचं माहिती आहे, पण ऐन वेळेला समोर जर बॉल आला त्यावेळेला कसं वागायचं तर त्यासाठी आपल्याला एक साधना ज्याला आपण आपल्या भाषेमध्ये म्हणतो किंवा प्रॅक्टिस असणं, तर तशी अशी काही तंत्र किंवा टेक्निक्स आहे ज्याचं प्रॅक्टिस करून आपण हे आपली ॲबिलिटी वाढवू शकतो.
सगळ्यात सोपं सांगू का सर, पहिल्यांदा गल्लीमध्येच क्रिकेट खेळायचं. हा, पहिल्यांदा मैदानावरती पण नाही जायचं. पहिल्यांदा गल्लीत क्रिकेट खेळायचं. पहिल्यांदा एका वेळेला एकच वर्तन किंवा एकच सवय बदलायला घ्यायची, एकच कसब शिकायला घ्यायचं. पहिल्यांदा गल्लीत खेळायचं, मग चौकात खेळायचं, मग छोट्या ग्राउंडला खेळायचं. आपल्याला थोडीच डायरेक्ट रणजीची आणि टेस्टची स्वप्न बघायची आहेत. आपण आपल्या पुरती छोटी सुरुवात करावी आणि आपण त्या बदलाला ना टक्केवारीत मोजू नये. म्हणजे आपल्याला ती एक सवय असते की नाही, की इतके दिवस डाएट केलं तर इतकं किलो वजन कमी झालं पाहिजे. तर ती सवय इथे बाजूला ठेवायची, की मी या तऱ्हेचं डाएट करत राहणार आहे. कधी माझं मानसिक वजन हे होईल, भावनिक वजन ते मी बघेन. तर तो हिशोब थोडा बाजूला ठेवून आपण जर हे करत राहिलो ना, तर ऍक्च्युअली आपल्याला खूप फायदा होतो. आणि मी तुम्हाला मजा सांगतो सर, कारण मी ह्या रॅशनल इमोटिव्ह बिहेवियर थेरपी म्हणून आहे, ज्याचे मी वर्ग घेतो आणि खूप साऱ्या डॉक्टर्ससाठी पण घेतो. तर काही लोक सिन्सिअरली स्वतःमध्ये बदल करतात. ते नंतर मला असा फीडबॅक देतात की आता आमचे पेशंट आम्हाला सांगतायत की तुम्ही शांत झालात म्हणून. तो म्हणजे तो किती बेस्ट फीडबॅक आहे नाही का, की आपला कंझ्युमर डायरेक्ट आपल्याला सांगतोय.
प्रत्येकाने झाली पाहिजे, त्यावेळी त्याचा उपयोग होऊ शकतो. बाहेर तीच बाहेर विध्वंस करते.
गुड आफ्टरनून डॉक्टर आपटे.
हा आपटे सर, नमस्कार.
नमस्कार.
हॅलो आशुतोष.
हॅलो, नमस्कार सर. नमस्कार.
हॅलो सुश्रुत.
हॅलो सर.
नमस्कार नारकर्णी सर.
नमस्कार.
I think that's it. No more questions, Anand sir.
Okay, thank you very
much. Thank you. म्हणजे कोरोना स्टाईल नमस्कार.
कोरोना स्टाईल नमस्कार.
Nadkarni, that was excellent discourse. Yeah, we have learned a lot.
Thank you sir.
One good thing I learned about that is don't change your emotions. If you are angry or if you are short tempered, continue to be safe.
नाही असं मी नाही म्हणालो.
Even in the same.
अरे बापरे, म्हणजे मी तुम्हाला फक्त ट्रॅव्हल व्हिसा दिला, तुम्ही तो लाईफ टाईम व्हिसा केलात नको.
Then it is only corona visa.
Only corona visa.
मी त्याला सर ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन्स लगेच अल्टरनेटिव्ह कसे
काढतात बघा. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Really appreciate. Yeah. Thanks. Bye-bye. Okay. So we are moving on to the next guidelines session, which is going to be a panel discussion, all of orthopedic surgeons and us together. And let me quickly show you. I have here. Okay, so in this guidelines, we have a great panel comprising of Parag Sancheti, Shiv Shankar, Ram Chadda, Vijay Kakatskar sir, Ashutosh Apte, my friend, Rajesh Swarnakar, who is again my good friend and a pulmonologist from Nagpur, Secretary of India Chest Society. We have Pranali Shinde, anesthetist, my anesthetist working with me. We have Amita Nene, who is going to join us in next 5 minutes. She is just messaged me that she has received some patient in ICU. We have Sandeep Diwan, who is the chief anesthetist at Sancheti Hospital, Pune. We have Ashwini Taide, who is an infection specialist from Nagpur. And we have Madhvi Deshmukh, who has special interest in diagnostics. So with this, welcome panel. What we are going to thrash in next couple of minutes is basically few questions which come to our minds. The questions being what to operate. So we have to thrash all the questions one by one. Is Chetan there? Has Chetan arrived? Yes, Chetan is there. Okay. I see you, Chetan. Chetan and Parag together. Yeah, I see you. To unmute, Kar, please. I think all the panels, let's unmute all the panels because we can barge in at any time and we should barge in and thrash each other. That's how Chetan is going to get lots of points end of the day. Uh, I will enumerate all the questions that come to our minds. As an orthopedic surgeon, we have to establish these guidelines. Uh, we have to publish these guidelines end of these 2 hours of discussion. Those who are non-orthopedic surgeons on the panel, they might feel that this is a lot of fight going on, but that's what we are naturally as an orthopedic surgeon, so don't get afraid. Uh, so starting from point number 1 is there is a huge confusion amongst minds of orthopedic surgeons. What is an emergency? What should be considered as an emergency? And what should be called as non-emergency or as an elective case?
So, Sushrut, can I just interrupt?
Yes, Chetan, all yours. Yeah.
Made a skeleton and I have just photographed from my laptop and sent you all on this group itself as to about 13 points on which we need to formulate these guidelines. So I want all of you to check those and then make additions, deletions to all those 13 points. And then we can discuss on, I think they are a little bit exhaustive to be discussed in just 2 hours. And I have been collating and collecting a lot of information on all these points from various associations. So,
perfect. So what I will do is I will just read out all these points. So in the background, people will continue thinking on these points. And then I will stop sharing and you share the screen and then we will take one by one.
I will not be able to share. That's why I have sent the photographs to you.
Photographs to me?
To all.
You can see in WhatsApp in our group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's on WhatsApp. Is it, Chetan?
Yes. But only thing is those slides are in different order.
Yeah. So
yeah, we have number points written like what is an emergency? The IOA classification.
Oh, that's okay. I will show this. I will.
Yes.
Yeah, it has been displayed now.
Correct. Now it's the same thing.
Okay. So let's go ahead with this. So this is the same point, Ashok?
Yeah, same, sir.
Okay. Same sequence as well, right?
Yeah, same sequence. It is the same sequence.
Okay. So Chetan, go ahead. So what is an emergency? Shiva, what do you think is an emergency? Orthopedic language.
Yes.
We are not talking of corona language. We are talking of orthopedics.
Correct.
What is your viewpoint?
Emergency is one which without interference in the immediate period, means in the 1 or next 2 days, if you don't interfere and if you postpone the things, treating them is going to cause functional loss or outcome. The outcome of that will be different.
Shiva, let me stop you there. I want you to simplify in terms of orthopedics, So is a dislocation with vascular injury an emergency?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Is Colles fracture an emergency?
No.
Is arthritis of hip secondary to avian an emergency?
No.
So that's what I want you to define in orthopedic language.
Any fracture which can be postponed for at least 1 month till the crisis of corona is over is not an emergency. What requires, if you are delaying treatment at least by 4 weeks time, if they are going to hamper either your clinical outcome or in the long run or the functional outcome, like small union or anything.
Ashok, can I barge in?
They should be called as emergency.
Ashok, can I barge in?
No, Ashutosh, I'll come to you. Yeah. Shiva, I will ask you to elaborate more on this.
Yes.
So, impending vascular injury, impending nerve injury.
Yes. A compound fracture with a bone projecting out or a vascular injury or a supracondylar fracture with pulselessness. These are the things should be considered as emergency. So if there is a fracture shaft in a child, in a femur, which can be managed by conservative plastering, or even a fractured tibia, which can be managed by a plaster, they are not to be considered as emergency to operate immediately.
Parag, do you have any suggestions on this? Parag Sancheti?
Yeah, so any intervention which, if not done immediately, is going to hamper the outcome of the patient, as Shiva said, is an emergency. And to my mind, any vascular injury, any dislocation, any compound fracture, any fracture neck, femur, whom we are contemplating fixation. So all these orthopedic conditions in when they come to you are emergencies, and they have to be dealt with in an emergency basis, as opposed to, you get lower and radius fracture that need not be done the same night, but that will also have to be done probably the next day, because it's going to cause malunion. So these are not emergencies which need not be dealt immediately. But if you get a fracture shaft femur, you have to fix it. You cannot go away. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is all trauma situations are considered to be done procedures ASAP. So that's the way I would say. An emergency.
We totally agree with you, Parag. I think all trauma, all fractures, at least they have to be brought back into a reducible state, Chetan. Okay.
Yes.
Now, question to you, Parag, is acute exacerbation of arthritis. So arthritis was posted for a TKR, let's say after 2 months, but suddenly that patient calls you this afternoon saying that she tried to fumble and now the pain has increased tremendously, and despite of 24 hours, 48 hours of medication, the pain is just not stopping. So would you consider that as an emergency to take the patient for TKR, is what my question is.
So in my mind, this does not become an emergency TKR. I would try to still conserve the patient with medications, injections, and admission if necessary. And totally replacement is not going to be required immediately. So unless a patient, as opposed to who has been operated on and has a knee replacement but has infection, comes to you with pus, comes to you with fever, and you can demonstrate that there is some collection in the knee joint, then to me that is an emergency. But a knee replacement is an elective procedure, and we can definitely find out ways to control the pain, and TKR would not be necessary in my eyes.
Okay. Ashutosh, you have been itching to say something. Please go ahead.
Let me clear the doubts over here. We have two types. Basically, the patients or the surgery, we can divide it into emergency surgery, urgent surgery, and elective surgery. So, so orthopedically and legally speaking, what is the emergency surgery? Any ailment which requires an intervention within 23 or 24 hours, or else the patient is likely to lose his life or limb. That is called as an emergency surgery. Right? Here we can very well include grade 3 compound fractures. We can very well include them. We can include certain dislocations like ankle dislocation, knee dislocation, for that matter, any dislocation of an orthopedic surgeon. Not exactly of an orthopedic surgeon, but any dislocation which we receive, we can consider it as an emergent
Can I
surgery.
stop here for a minute?
Yeah.
We totally understand this legal definition of emergency. We all know this.
Yeah.
My point is, even if it's a compound grade 1 tibia and a fracture, we are in a different situation today. We are in a pandemic situation.
Yes.
We don't know the end period or end point of this pandemic situation.
Correct.
We can't leave that fracture tibia for next 2 months, because this continues for 2 months. We can't be waiting. But based on your emergency definition, compound grade 1 tibia is not an emergency.
Yes.
But based on the current social situation of pandemic, we have to treat that fracture tibia also.
For our help is a second definition. We call it as urgent surgery. Any ailment which requires an intervention by an orthopedic surgeon within 24 to 72 hours is called as an urgent surgery. And most of the fractures and most of the orthopedic ailments, they can be included into urgent surgery, which we need to operate within 24 hours to 72 hours. That is urgent surgery.
But to make life easy, yes, Chetan.
I will just interrupt here for a minute. I think the MOA guidelines on this are pretty explicit, and Shiva will agree because he was a party to it. So the MOA classification of absolute indications, relative indications, and few contraindications. It's a very good guideline to it. And I think I have sent that on the group also.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you go through the IOA guidelines, they have
Yeah.
a very nice chart of what is an emergency, what should be clearly done. The only thing that I would differ with that is today, all the trauma becomes an emergency, almost, except if the fracture is undisplaced. Because like what Sushrut said, I'll agree with him that if we keep on waiting for days together, we do not know when this is going to end, and treat it conservatively, and then the outcome is not good, then you are likely to be blamed.
Plus, what I also want Chetan you to do is divide into only two parts: emergency and elective.
Correct.
Why? Because these guidelines which we will come out with, Shiva, you will agree with me, is going to go with bureaucrats and ministers, and they would not be able to define between emergency and urgent and non-urgent and non-elective. They will understand only two words. So let's make life very easy for our colleagues also to support them. Emergency and elective. That's it. Don't do too many definitions. Shiva, you have to say something?
No. See, the IOA has given absolute indication, relative indication, and non-operative indication. That's also quite good. Like the absolute indication is an open fracture. A relative indication is a fracture femur. And a stable tibial fracture is a indication for a conservative treatment. So that is exhaustive. And as Chetan said, it's we can copy paste that. That's there. I don't find there is any reason to differentiate that and have our own indications. So I just read the trauma in general orthopedic. What is an absolute indication? It's open fracture, polytrauma, trauma with neurovascular injury, irreducible fractures, irreducible dislocations, compartment syndrome, crush injury, septic arthritis, acute osteomyelitis, and amputation of the gangrene. These are the only means some of the examples they have given. And relative indication, I'll just give 1 minute I'll take. Like fracture of the femur, fracture neck, fracture distal femur, unstable pelvic fracture, acetabular fracture, intra-articular fractures of the forearm, or even intra-articular fractures of the elbow, unstable tibial shaft fractures, comminuted complex fractures. So whatever Chetan said, I think I'll agree on that front, that we should more or less copy paste this, and if we want to change any absolute indications, that we can do at a little later stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karna sir, you want to ask something, please?
Yeah. There are 2-3 things into this. One part you asked about the acute severe pain in the knee joint when the patient was to be posted for TKR, but now patient is having severe pain. For that patient, one can try for the local hydrocortisone injections to buy the time for the next replacement. That one part we can consider, because we can postpone the replacement for 5 to 6 months also with the injection as and when required.
No, sir, I am asking this question with a view that the arthroplasty surgeons will tomorrow morning ask us that, boss, you have defined emergency surgeries as trauma surgeries. We are doing nothing. We have specialized in arthroplasty. Now we have taken us completely out of the ball game. Now what do we do?
That's why I'm coming to the
this
next
question
point.
is for them.
Next point I'm coming to for
That's
any
why I was
surgery for that
pinpointing to
matter.
Parag. I'm sorry for that, but I wanted Parag to answer this.
See, one point I want to highlight, because why we are avoiding surgeries, we have to go to the basics of those things. We are avoiding surgeries because either we are concerned about the transmission of the COVID from the patient to us or from us to the patient.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of us know that the 14 days or 21 days is generally an incubation period. Now, if at all the patient is having fractured tibia, that is one part. Second part is that we don't know when this particular part is going to get over, especially in the high alert or red zones like Pune, Mumbai, Nagpur, and Aurangabad, Nasik. So we don't know if you are postponing surgery now, when we are going to do the surgery to the patient. So my suggestion is that, though it will be a little expensive, that if the patient is going to get operated for fractured tibia, you can get a swab now. You can take swab even after 14 days also. If the patient comes negative, then there is less chance of getting transmitted from the patient to us. Second thing, our own hospital staff. Anybody can become positive at any point of time. So all of us are taking precautions from last 1 month, more than 1.5 months now. So we assume that the transmission will not be there from the hospital.
We'll come to that. We'll just try to define emergency and non-emergency now.
I think Sushrut, that's the best way.
Give chance to everybody for non-operative management initially, but then keep in the mind that they can be operated up to 14 days. Third part about the spine, we are not talking about the spine now.
No, I'm just going to wake up Ram Chadda now. Ram Chadda, good morning. Say something, sir.
You have to unmute. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I was just waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make a few things very clear.
Yeah.
We are compartmentalizing cases based on only their diagnosis.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, for risk mitigation, we can talk today of 1st of May 2020. Things will be different 1st of June. Things were different 1st of April. So let's understand today that what was an emergency earlier will probably become a semi-emergency today. So let's make that very clear. And if you're talking of spine, you can extrapolate it to trauma. Anything which is going to jeopardize either the quantity or the quality of life, in the sense where you said loss of life or loss of limb. Here I am talking of neurology, quantity or quality of life in the short term is an emergency as far as we are concerned in spine. Now, quality of life is a very relative thing. Quality of life will be different for a 20-year-old, will be different for an 80-year-old. So please understand, we'll have to look at risk mitigation of a 25-year-old with an acute disc herniation and a cauda equina versus an 80-year-old who's got a disc on an existing lumbar canal stenosis in a lady who probably was incontinent with her bladder for some time and has become worse. But there, when I'm looking at a situation of a lady at 80, 85, I have to look at it intra-op and post-op, what am I going to face? And I'll have to discuss that, counsel that with that particular patient versus a 25-year-old orthopedic surgeon himself who has a good quality of life and is going to be is going to add value to society in future. So we're looking at totally different things. So please understand, we cannot make tight compartments and we have to go very, very slowly. And as Dr. Shiv Shankar mentioned very correctly, let's not make it too tight. Let's keep it very open.
Only thing I can add is we can make it as anything, any delay more than 1 month.
Yes, sir.
Or anything which cannot be conserved, like by plaster, should be taken up for surgery.
I totally agree, sir. Because, sir, I'll be very frank. There will come a stage when we will be stronger to look after ourselves and our healthcare workers. Today, we are not as strong, sir.
Yeah,
At
that's
that
correct.
time, we will be able to take a higher risk both for the patient and for our team. Today, we are in that situation where we don't know the risks, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything, Kakatskar, sir, you want to contribute, sir?
Yeah. I think
because you are in the hotspot of Malegaon, you know.
Yeah,
so I was concerned about Nashik defining whatever you are receiving in Nashik.
Luckily, you know, because of the Gaon Bandi, we are not getting direct cases from Malegaon. But then I think as far as the emergency surgeries is concerned, I would agree with Parag that, you know, any fracture has to be treated as an emergency. What way you want to treat is different. Suppose something which can be treated by just a plaster, well, you have to do that treatment. If you feel that the surgery is the absolute necessity, then I think you have to do surgery. But then I think every fracture has to be treated as an emergency. The modality of treatment can vary depending on the situation of that particular fracture. And as we were discussing, you know, in every specialty, I think we'll have to think of all the specialties and put some guidelines for all of them. Like Ram was saying, you know, somebody having a disc with a cauda equina, though it is a spine problem, I think it is an emergency, you know, and you have to offer him surgical intervention immediately.
I think, sir, we should go through the IOA guidelines because they have made a very exhaustive list of all the specialties.
Yeah, I have gone through what you have
Let's
said.
go ahead to the next point.
Yeah. And I think...
so what is
yeah?
What is the take-home message now about the emergency?
No, there is no take-home message. The take-home message will come. Chetan will.
And I do have a query. A patient with so many persons are listening to this seminar.
Yeah.
If a young person or a young orthopedic surgeon decides to operate an intertrochanteric fracture femur, he receives it in the morning, he operates it in the afternoon, lands up in a soup. The thing goes into the court of law. How will we be able to save him then? Was it an emergency? Will be a question that was asked.
Ashutosh, IGO has given guidelines where trauma and orthopedics are already read. Regarding the hand, it is crushing injury of the hand and replantation surgery and infection. Spine, it is the absolute indication is cauda equina syndrome, epidural abscess, discitis, pyogenic, spine fracture, unstable with paraplegia, acute and progressive compressive myelopathy. Arthroplasty people, prosthetic joint replacement, prosthetic joint dislocation, periprosthetic fractures, then these are the absolute indication. Similarly, for oncology, infection including infected joints. For sports medicine people, multi-ligamentous injury with neurovascular deficit. These are the absolute indications. Similarly, there is relative indications also. The list is little bigger, so I'll not go to that.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Ashutosh, is fracture is an emergency. So we will be able to support him. Any fracture or any fracture dislocation is an emergency.
Yeah.
Chetan, do you want to go ahead with the next point? Chetan, you're unmute kar, unmute kar.
Can I add? Sushil?
Yes, sir. Bola, sir.
See, at the intertrochanteric fracture, if you take an example, and if the patient comes in the morning and the surgeon operates in the afternoon without doing proper workup, I think now it is a situation that we have to treat every patient as a potential COVID patient.
Yeah.
So I think every patient for whom it is not absolutely necessary to operate on the same day, I think you have to, in the workup, add even a COVID test. Wait for 48 hours till you get the report. An intertrochanteric fracture can always wait for 48 hours and then you can always operate these patients.
That was exactly what I meant to say.
So Ashutosh, we'll come to that. We'll come to that one by one. Because 48 hours, the report will not come. It will take 4 days to come.
No, you get it in 48 hours.
If the patient doesn't, sir, Nagpurla 4-5 दिवस लागतात.
So can I say something?
And you cannot insist on COVID negative report.
So
to
we will
admit
come
or treat
to
a patient.
pre-operative assessment of
Yes,
patient. There is a section to that. We'll come to that.
Yeah.
Chetan, next point. What is the next point, Chetan?
So the next
transport of handling the casualty.
Yeah, so you do not know the patient entering into the casualty, whether it is positive or negative. So we need to have guidelines about all the 3 scenarios where the patient is obviously COVID positive or a COVID suspect or the patient is totally asymptomatic. Now, I just wanted to have a discussion on this, that do we take every patient entering into the hospital as positive?
Yes, sir.
And accordingly behave in the casualty, or
yes,
we have to triage it in the casualty itself?
So here we have my friends, Dr. Rajesh Swarnakar, pulmonologist from Nagpur, and Amita Nene, who is pulmonologist from Bombay Hospital. So one by one, do you want to answer this question?
What, Sushruth, can you just repeat it?
I'm just talking about any patient entering into the casualty. We have just finished defining what is an emergency, what is not an emergency.
Yeah, so I've just shared basically COVID points, in fact, in which you can actually suspect if suppose this an observation can be a COVID. I've just shared on our group, in fact. So you have to triage the patient. The guidelines say that basically you have to triage the patient outside your hospital. So you have to pick up basically symptoms of cough and also the fever and all those things, and then you have to take them to a separate area if suppose you got cough and all. So basically you have to triage the patient outside the hospital. Oh, yes, Amita, are you there? Amita, what are you doing in Bombay Hospital?
Yes, so I'll just tell this. So Rajesh is absolutely right. What I would basically like to suggest is that basically there should be triaging done. So the thing is that normally whenever the patient walks into the hospital, there should be only one area of entry and exit. So every person who's walking into the hospital, we have basically healthcare workers who are absolutely trained in taking history. So what is really important is that we need to know what are the symptoms of COVID before we decide whether the patient is asymptomatic or not. Because everybody thinks that COVID symptoms are cough, breathlessness, fever. But what we need to understand is that there are other symptoms also, which are COVID symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, loss of smell, loss of taste, headache, myalgia, anorexia. 60% patients only have anorexia. So basically the thing is we have to ask each and every question to the patient if the patient has these symptoms or anybody in the family who's living in the same house has any of these symptoms. So that is very, very important. So basically if the patient has any of these symptoms or if anybody in the family has any of these symptoms, then this patient becomes a high risk asymptomatic carrier. So everybody is an asymptomatic carrier. You have to decide if it's high risk or low risk. In addition, we have to find out how good is the social distancing being followed at family. So if the patient was going around in the house before the fall, or if he was going out of the house, not wearing a mask, not maintaining social distancing, not doing hand hygiene, not only the patient, if anybody in the family is also not following this, then this patient becomes a high risk asymptomatic carrier. So what I would recommend is that even if the patient has zero symptoms, he still remains an asymptomatic carrier, and everybody is an asymptomatic carrier. You have to decide if it's high risk or
That's
it's
a
low risk.
problem. That's a problem.
Yes.
So you got a checklist.
So Rajesh, let me pinpoint everyone to the case that you have won in Supreme Court, wherein asymptomatic COVID person who has been asked to been quarantined can rest at home. Was the case, right, Rajesh? Can you tell us more about it?
Absurdity was going on. In fact, that they were admitting this asymptomatic or also mildly symptomatic patients into the hospital. So basically, they are just exposing healthcare also workers unnecessarily to these patients. They can just well be quarantined elsewhere, but then if not in hospital.
So tell me, this group of patient, if he sustains a fracture at home and comes to my hospital, should I be doing his COVID test? Is it compulsory?
So as per the guidelines, they are saying that you can't ask actually compulsorily to do the test.
You cannot.
You just cannot. And as you said that the test time takes about 2 days. At least in Nagpur, I think it is 2 days. It should be actually 24 hours, but that's not happening. In fact, it takes 2 days. So time. So of course, all this thing cannot just wait for two days. That would be too long for an emergency to.
Then question to Amita, Rajesh, and Ashwini, who is also here. Is it essential for us as an orthopedic surgeon as a pre-operative workup for fracture neck of femur, which is an emergency surgery, to do a COVID test on each and every patient?
No.
Okay, so fine. I'll just answer the question first of all. Yeah, so first of all, I want to very clearly say that according to me, fracture neck femur is not an urgent surgery. It's not a life-saving urgent surgery. You can wait for 5 to 7 days also. Okay, so the thing is that there are lots of places earlier who were doing an RT-PCR before every surgery, but now the guidelines have changed. So you cannot do an RT-PCR on a patient who's asymptomatic unless the patient has been exposed to a COVID positive patient, or unless the person is a healthcare person. So you have these criteria. So basically you're not allowed to do the test. If you want to do the test, you have to fake a symptom in the patient. That is number one. Secondly, we know that even if you do nasopharyngeal and oropharyngeal swab, the sensitivity of the test is only 75%. So the thing is that even if the patient is an asymptomatic carrier, the test could still come negative. So what I would actually recommend is that you admit the patient who's fracture neck femur. You basically find out, you assume he's asymptomatic carrier, but you find out from the history, is he high risk asymptomatic carrier or low risk asymptomatic carrier? You keep him in a buffer room where limited number of people are allowed to see the patient. Patient is wearing an N95 mask, etc. You wait for 7 days. After 7 days, if the patient is asymptomatic, then you can go ahead with the surgery. According to me, fracture neck femur can easily wait for 7 days. There are two things. It's not only about our protection. Of course, we don't want to be infected, but more importantly, basically the patients who are asymptomatic carriers of COVID also have very high mortality and morbidity. And basically the thing is that we've seen that 40% high mortality morbidity in COVID positive patients who are also asymptomatic carriers. So we don't want to do this. I mean, what are we achieving?
Okay. Rajesh, what do you want to say on this?
Basically, you have to just try to postpone the surgery if you can, in fact. So basically, if you can just fit them into protocol guidelines, which has been just given for
let's say I'm not able to postpone it. It's a knee fracture dislocation and with a vascular injury.
Then I think you have to take all I think precautions that you would take for a COVID patient and go on just go on operating it. There is no other go, I think, because now of you.
Am I legally protected in that case?
Yes, you are protected.
Ashwini
would tell about this.
Ashwini?
Yeah, basically, like ma'am said, testing is practically not possible. Initially, Mumbai, Pune people were doing it, but then there is a loophole to it because we know it's just 70% sensitivity and we are going to miss out 25% people who are asymptomatic or because of the limitation of the test. Second thing is the mortality is somewhere between 20%, and there is a good paper about it that those who were asymptomatic carrier, they had 20% extra mortality. So what is advisable in present scenario is all new admissions or all new patient you triage to a separate floor or separate rooms where you are giving them basic PP. Like for patient, what is advisable is surgical mask. If it is not available, a cloth mask. And to a staff who is handling that person should wear a basic minimal PP like a surgical mask, a
Yeah,
face shield, gown and all.
we'll
And
come to
then
that.
when we triage
Yeah,
that
we'll
and
come to
plan the
that. We'll come to
surgery.
that. We'll come to that. Ashwin, let me stop you there. See, I also want to tell all the
I'm sorry, can
panelists
I just,
that
yeah.
we have to also think of non-corporate hospitals, rural settings wherein we have only, let's say, 3 or 5 beds. I am not able to triage my patient, but I have a patient and I have an emergency to deal with. So we have to consider those group of hospitals also.
Yeah, so that's why.
Can I just say one thing over here? I basically
Sure.
feel that in this COVID era, we have to basically redefine our emergency surgeries. Because, believe me, 3 months back, we could say anything was an emergency.
Yeah.
But today, as surgeons, you all have to be extremely clear in your mind as to what is really an emergency. According to me, like a cauda equina or a neurology,
Yeah,
or
Amita, you were not there. We already went through that to a huge extent. So we.
So
I
those
know. So I
smaller
was just
setup,
really
what we
coming to
can.
this. No, just a minute. So I was basically just wanting to say that there is a high risk of mortality, morbidity to the patient, number one. There's a high risk to us, number two. And at the same time, wearing PPE and operating is not really easy. So you need to understand, people who want PPE will realize it's so claustrophobic, etc. So the thing is that be very, very sure if the patient really needs the surgery.
Okay. All right. Again, a request to all the panelists, those who want to say something, just raise the hand. I'm looking at you. I will ask you to speak. Ashuri, you wanted to say
Yeah, so the
something?
smaller setup where you don't have a separate rooms and all available, like remote places, what we can do is we can segregate them, put a barricade, something, so that the droplet spread is not there. That is the max we can give and give them bare minimum PPs.
All right. Okay. Chetan, let's go on to the next point, please. Chetan.
So that the point of transport and handling in the casualty was for the same reason. Where you have a facility of triaging it outside the hospital, that's fine. But so many setups will not have that facility. So we'll have to, think about situations where a patient has walked in or brought into the casualty, and then how do we go about it? So that's the next point, and that is the casualty protocol. So how do we handle each and every patient walking into the casualty? How do we
Okay.
triage it? On what?
Ashwini, I will pinpoint it to you. Mine is a 5-bedded setup. I have 5 beds in the hospital, 1 entry point. I do not have second parallel entry to the hospital. I have 1 OT. I have a small setup. How would you deal with this situation now?
So this is resource limited setting. So what we can do is
That's
whatever.
90% of the hospitals in our country.
Okay, so all the patients, like ma'am said, we have to consider them asymptomatic carriers. So whenever your patient enters and comes into your triage room, you triage the patient, stratify risk, do the risk stratification, and place the patient wherever the patient is to be posted, be it a ward. As you said, it is 5-bedded, so you shift the patient. But then simultaneously, you take care that the area from where the patient has come should be cleaned properly, so that there are no traces or no droplets left out. And minimum number of people should be accompanying the patient while transporting. That way you are exposing less number of healthcare worker to the patient, unless unfortunately if the patient turns out to be positive and you need to quarantine, the lesser amount of
Different
staff will
ball
be
game. Yeah.
quarantined.
Rajesh, any more additions to this? Any additions?
Yeah, so of course, these are all what we call this thing, a strategy which is just evolving, in fact. So we don't know much, this into this. So if it is, I think if it's a very small, clinic, that would be quite, difficult to do all these things. And if it comes positive, unfortunately, whole of you will be just quarantined, and then the hospital will be shut. That is what the guideline is today. So that's the problem.
Amita, any additions?
No, so I basically want to say that triaging may not be possible is not acceptable in today's day and age. You have to make sure that you do triaging. Even if your hospital is 3 beds, you have to have 1 entry and exit point. At the stage of triaging, everybody who's coming in has to have a mask. It's very, very important. The patient whoever enters, patient relative, have to have a mask. They have to be sanitized. Temperature checkup has to be done from outside. If possible, try to segregate corridors. That every patient has a suspect high asymptomatic carrier has a different lift. He has a different corridor. If you do these things, then there's a high chance of your place not being closed down. Because if you're going to say that I can't do it, then you may just get closed. Then what's the big point? And this is going to go on at least for next 4 to 6 months. So please take out time and prepare yourself for the ideal world.
Okay. My next question, Chetan, is should elective surgery be delayed in elderly patients? And we talk of some elective surgeries, Chetan, and get it out of the way.
Yes, so there are some excellent guidelines by Javed Parvizi and the group, International Consensus Group, which I had sent on this group itself. So they have clearly defined how to do risk stratification for elective surgery, and I think Shiva will also agree, and Kakatkar sir, that we can cut paste from there about elective surgeries.
Okay. So shall we start with investigations? What investigations we should be doing? So let's start with Madhvi. Madhvi.
Yes, sir.
What investigations would you suggest we do for a young patient, elective, semi-elective, or an emergency?
Sir, as we are discussing this COVID scenario, routine investigations will be done as per your orthopedic protocols. But for COVID testing, there are no protocols from ICMR. Only symptomatic individuals who have traveled from who had international travel history, or symptomatic contacts who have laboratory confirmed, and symptomatic healthcare workers. We know the definition of ICMR. Only those patients we can test for COVID testing. But as such, ICMR at this point has not given any guideline to test the patients for COVID pre-operatively.
Okay.
If in emergency cases, if we have to test the patient for COVID, then I would suggest that as per recommendation, we can do RT-PCR. If the test is negative, we can definitely go ahead with the surgery. But we don't know the patient's status, whether he is, as madam has said, whether he is in high risk or low risk group. We can repeat the testing after 48 hours if the patient seems to be symptomatic.
Okay. As far as orthopedic surgeons are concerned, the biggest hurdle is our good friend anesthetist. So the question is to Sandeep and Pranali. Good morning, Sandeep. Hi. Please unmute yourself. What would you want us orthopedic surgeons to do before taking the patient to the surgery? We have taken care of the history part of it. We have made sure that he has not traveled from anywhere. We are trying to tell you that it's an emergency and trying to convince you that it's an emergency. What would you want us to do? Number one, on consent front, and number two, on investigation front, for allowing us to do the surgery or perform surgery. We are talking of Corona period. Sandeep.
First of all, allow me to thank you all for making me join in this particular webinar. Now, in the last 36 days, whatever I've seen polytrauma, because I've been doing it for the last 36 days, continuous non-stop, except on Sundays, we saw almost 40 patients of trauma, all who require really urgent surgeries, defined by the surgeon and also consulted with the anesthetist and with the patients. We take all these patients as asymptomatic, maybe, or maybe as a COVID positive. But the thing is, all of us, we have been taking precautions, right from the whatever you have been mentioning, right from the transport of the patient from the ICU to the recovery and to the OT. We all use category 3 PPE for general anesthesia purposes. Just now we finished one spine decompression laminectomy, as Ram Chadha sir said, for a cord syndrome. So this is what my proposition is. Our health workers, they all wear these shields, as well as they use the masks in the OT. We use the maximum of regional anesthesia techniques. So as far as possible, we try to see that the patients are asymptomatic, and they, of course the PCR test is not available right now. But some of the polytrauma patients, what we have seen in Pradhan sir knows this, one of this patient had a ground glass appearance. that too in the post-operative period, and it was very difficult to define whether it belongs to a pulmonary origin or it is related to the corona. So this is a problem which is being observed in the post-operative period. But apart from routine investigations, what we have, we really don't require for a really well-defined emergency surgeries.
Okay.
Can I ask a question here to that?
Sure. Yeah.
Instead of RT-PCR, there has been a recommendation from one of the groups that you can do a CT scan of the chest, HRCT of the chest, and rule out any damage to the lungs when you're doing emergent or elective surgeries. So what is the opinion on doing that instead of an RT-PCR? Because RT-PCR is not now possible to be done pre-operatively.
Sandeep, you want to answer this?
No, but not all these patients would have something in the HRCT. Those will be, I think, only the patient who would have some oxygen problems. So it's not that each and every patient of COVID would have some HRCT finding. That is not so. So I don't think that can actually replace your RT-PCR or some other test.
No, so not replace, but should it be done routinely as a pre-op test?
No.
No, first the X-ray test should be done as a routine.
There is no guideline for that. There is no guideline.
Okay. Ashwini, you want to say something? Ashwini?
Yes, CT is proven to be a good tool, particularly in asymptomatic population, where they could pick up almost 75% of those who had no symptoms. But then CT picked up ground glass opacities, which are the early manifestation. But then there are a lot of false positives, so you need to have clinical interpretation of it. And as such, like everyone is saying, there is no guideline to do CT and get the CT exposure to the patient.
Sandeep, yes.
Yeah, see, there is one study which mentions almost 48% patients having negative PCR, they had a positive lung sign. So out of almost 310 patients, 150 patients, they had positive lung signs. But in case in that patient, if you do a PCR in few days time and he turns to be negative, he would be unnecessarily exposed to maybe low dose even radiation. That is one thing. The second thing, meta-analysis has been conducted between PCR and the CT chest, and in this, it's very debatable. One study it mentions that CT chest does provide a good telltale sign of the COVID, and the other study it mentions that this cannot be taken as a primary diagnostic test. So we are still debatable whether to push in patients for CT chest prior to the surgical procedure. It's still debatable and controversial.
Yes.
Pranali, you want to say something?
If the patient is clinically not showing any signs of respiratory element involvement, so if we re-examine the patient by SpO2, chest auscultation, then we can consider patient for the X-ray chest at the minimum.
X-ray chest will not pick up majority of it. That is the biggest
consolidation. It is there, but at the minimum we can do that.
Question
considering
to
each and every patient.
Okay, Amita, what do you do in Bombay Hospital now? What are you doing?
No, so basically the thing is that we need to understand if the surgery is really an emergency surgery, then you have to go ahead. So then you don't do RT-PCR, you don't do CT scan, you go ahead to the surgery. But the thing is that if you are plus minus about the surgery, then honestly speaking, we do not really recommend a CT chest because very often patient could be having only upper respiratory tract involvement because of COVID. So not every patient has a COVID pneumonia. So if you don't have COVID pneumonia, then CT scan will be still normal, and unnecessarily you get the false blanket of patient being negative, and therefore you're not very careful about your PPEs also. So I basically feel that we don't normally recommend. In China, they were doing CT scans, etc. But as of now, we don't really recommend doing a CT scan because after you do a CT scan, you have to stop the department at least for 2 to 3 hours.
45 to 45 minutes to 1 hour.
Chetan, what's the next point, Chetan?
Yeah, so the just a moment.
Can I drag you to outpatient clinic for a minute?
Yeah, so next point we can.
Can I add one thing to pre-op checkup before this?
Yes.
So we can do a baseline CBC and CRP, and if there is lymphopenia or disproportionate elevation of CRP, that might be a clue that we are handling a symptomatic carrier, something like that. So that will definitely help us. So these are few pointers in basic labs which will help us in differentiating or triaging those patients.
Okay. Okay,
That's
let me drag every one of you to outpatient department. In the outpatient department, what care should we do for maintaining the triage once we start with OPD? Whenever it will start, what is the suggestion, Rajesh? Is there any suggestion how to maintain the protocol in the waiting room and the patients coming in?
So I think walk-in. So all the actually walk-in patients are to be now for discouraged. They have to go only by appointment because you don't have so much of space. In fact, I do see in my OPD there are about 45 to 50 patients, and then basically we can't now do it because now we have to just have what we call social distancing. So they have to basically sit with I think 1 to 2 feet of distancing. So you have to we have to just maintain that. In fact, so it has to be only by appointment, I think. And I think seats and also have to be separated. They have to be actually put on mask, and of course hand also sanitizers. That is must, in fact. So that thing has to be considered.
Okay. Any other suggestions on this?
Yes. So triaging at the entrance of the OPD itself, sanitizing their hands, giving a mask, taking thermometer, the temperature, and all that is fine. Inside the OPD, do you recommend distancing of about 6 feet between each patient, or?
Yes, it is must. It is must. So you have to
1 meter, 1 meter, 3 feet.
Has to be there.
You have to rearrange your sitting arrangements in OPD, and basically you should not take many patients inside.
Yeah,
They
so it's
should
by
just
appointment.
wait outside, and appointment system has to be now encouraged. This is the time and I think, way to get organized and do of this thing if not done till now.
Okay.
I would say possible even keep a barrier between the secretary and the receptionist and the patient, so we can have a glass barrier or acrylic barrier, so that there's no physical contact.
Yeah, so they have to wear N95 mask with a glass shield and all those things.
Okay.
Sushruth.
Any precautions?
N95 to receptionist will be practically difficult. Yeah.
No, but that would be required, Ashwini. Ashwini, that is
Yeah,
required because all healthcare workers inside the hospital, they have to wear N95 mask. That is
AIMS is an excellent guidelines that every healthcare worker, whether you are looking after COVID or non-COVID, if you're a healthcare worker working currently, you have to be in N95. So no compromise over here. Absolutely no compromise.
Yes.
How long can you wear it? At a stretch, how long can you wear it?
Yeah, that is the problem. So I think
6 hours.
4 to 6 hours.
6 hours, the filter works completely well, and we normally don't recommend wearing or working continuously more than 6 hours at a stretch, anyways. So it works for the whole duty. We are wearing it all the time.
Yeah.
6 hours.
Okay,
There
Rajesh.
should be no shortcuts. We have to be very clear. No shortcuts allowed anywhere.
Rajesh, my question to you for my rural orthopedic colleagues. Now, number one, N95 is not available. Number two, what is the efficacy of cloth mask for the staff or frontline workers? You have to also understand that orthopedic patients are not going to be, frankly, corona positive. They are backache, knee pain patients.
No, but you can never know like this that they are not such. So that all this has to be taken that each and every patient can be what we call a potential COVID patients. And very sad to tell you, in fact, cloth mask doesn't work. It's only for I think general population who just this thing. Once they would come in the hospital, they would need at least N95, or if not, at least I think a surgical blue mask has to be given to the patient.
Yeah. Okay. See, Rajesh and other panelists, sometimes you will probably think that I am asking such a stupid question.
No.
I have to represent the entire country,
No.
and I am asking some questions which will be asked by some of my colleagues. So not necessarily I will ask my reception people to wear not non-N95 mask, but I am trying to represent
surgical mask.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Sushruth, I have a question to Rajesh.
Yes, Shiva, of course. Shiva.
My question is, instead of cloth mask, whether 3-layered mask that is surgical mask is sufficient instead of N95?
Rajesh?
That would be the next best. But still, I would always say that this thing is the best is to wear N95. If it is not available, then of course.
Yeah, because since we are giving the guidelines.
I would like to just add here that we just need to understand that triple layer surgical mask gives us only 70% protection.
Yes.
That is number one. apart from getting protection, mask also prevents us from transmitting infection. So if I'm an asymptomatic carrier, if I wear a triple layer surgical mask, there's a 50% chance of me still transmitting infection. Whereas if I wear N95, it gives me 99% protection for my side, and I transmit infection by less than 70%. So the thing is that it's also important to prevent transmission. So surgical mask is not very protective. Please understand. If we give a receptionist a surgical mask, she becomes infectious and she gives it to us.
Correct.
So please
Okay.
make sure people
There
around
is-
us are 95.
Okay, my
Okay.
next question
There,
to you,
so
Rajesh.
can I say something? There
No,
is
hold on,
clear-cut
hold on one second.
IDSA guideline.
Yeah, wait
which have,
one second. Wait a second.
Sorry.
Now, my next question to you, Rajesh and Amita, is when there is a patient who comes with a bunch of plastic bag and number of X-rays and CT scan films and everything, lunch box there, dinner box there. He has traveled from, let's say, Mumbai, Pune to Nagpur, and he hands over all the basket to me to go through the X-ray and tell me this is happening in OPD. How safe am I as a doctor to handle those X-rays and CT scans? What precaution should I take as a doctor?
Yeah, so you have to wear gloves, actually, so you have to wear gloves to touch and all those things. That is to be there, in fact, because we will have to see the files. I mean, we can't really forego that.
Can't say no.
So we'll have to see the files. So I think the best practice is to have, I think, gloves on and then only touch that. And then you can always basically wash it with your hands and all those things. So that's why I'm saying that you have to do appointments. You have to see fever patients, and all this thing has to be done.
Okay. Ashwini, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, basically it's regarding the N95 and surgical mask. So IDSA guideline clearly says only when there is a aerosol generating procedure you have to wear N95 mask, and rest of all other areas surgical mask is good enough. And aerosol generating procedure, the list is there because it's a contingency situation and majority of the places N95 is not available. So we have to keep this in mind, and it is not going to be there for just few days. This situation is going to be there for months together. So all those things keeping in mind, IDSA has given this guideline. So that is
so best
something
is
which I'll
N95,
share.
next is surgical mask, next is of course cloth mask. So all these things can be done.
1 minute.
But what I'm saying is best.
I agree with Rajesh.
Yeah.
I just want to say a few things quickly. I totally agree with Rajesh. First of all, as healthcare workers, we have to understand what is the best, number one. Just because N95 masks are not available, other things are getting recommended is a different thing. But when we make guidelines, we have to recommend N95 is the best. Try to procure it. No, if we say that you can start wearing surgical masks, and nobody will try to procure N95. That is number one. Second point was about when OPD patients come to us with so many things. One other useful thing is that you can keep on telling the patient to keep on changing the pages. So they are showing it to you. You don't touch it. You tell them to keep on changing the pages. That is what we are doing. About even the X-rays and MRIs, what we are doing is the patient puts up his X-ray or the patient's relative puts up the MRI plate, X-ray film, etc. We are not touching it. And best would be earlier, before they electronically either email or WhatsApp us all the data, and we see it on our phone or on our computer. And we are actually doing this. We are having a touchless practice anyways.
Okay, that's a good suggestion, Amita. Ashutosh, yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm giving a talk today, how to restart OPD practice. And we are talking about all this because we are actually doing this. We are managing no-touch practice everywhere.
Sure. Ashutosh?
Yeah, so sure. I do have in front of me IMA Tamil Nadu's guidelines for COVID-19 for reception purpose. That particular IMA group from Tamil Nadu, they have come out with a guideline of reception people using full cover cloth dress, N95 mask, a cloth mask over that, and a face shield in addition to that. Now, my question to you all and to the panelists is simple. If a particular IMA has come out with such a guideline, and we go ahead with some different guideline, this matter goes into the court of law. Where do we stand then? Which has to be, which we need to accept?
No, when I will answer that question, Ashutosh.
Yeah.
When Chetan will write down the guideline this evening after this panel discussion and brainstorming, I'm sure he has the guideline which is kept in front of you, and he will come out with a good solution. I'm sure. So rather than
I just
panel,
say one thing over here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, CDC, WHO, they all have compromised and not asked for N95 mask only because there is a shortage.
Yeah.
So and AIMS, I'm so proud of AIMS in our country that we put our foot down. This is the best, provide it. If you don't have it, you try to make it available. And please, in the guidelines, write what is the best. Because the minute we start saying because it's not available, use this instead, we are making a mess of it, no?
No, Amita, we are not going to write it that you use surgical masks as number one. We will always write in the guideline that this is the best and this is the next best. We will not even write what is the third best.
Exactly. We should write this should be there. Don't give a chance. Don't even say use triple layer and give them an excuse to not use it.
Yeah, that's true.
And we can do one thing. We can do one thing.
Bola Karade, sir.
Yeah. Chetan can write down all the guidelines which just now has been said, and he can send it to MOA, and Maharashtra Orthopedic Association at least will endorse it. They will tell that this is the official guideline which the person, if the doctor is in problem, he can show this as a proof in the court of law.
No, we are going a step further, Karane sir.
That's the
We are going to write down the guidelines. We are going to brainstorm over it till Sunday. Sunday evening, it will go to MOA and it will also go to IOA. Shiva has decided to take it up, Shiva.
Yeah, yes. I entirely agree with this.
So we are going one stage ahead. We are talking of national level orthopedic surgeons guidelines. We are not talking only.
Since I was involved with the IOA guidelines earlier, I would like to, that is already 1 month old. Now I would like to take it further with a newer one.
Absolutely. Ram, you want to say something?
Two points. One, how does a face shield add to the value of a surgical mask is what I want to know from the chest physicians. Second, is there now a role, even in the small setups that you're talking of, Shushruth, of doing limited face-to-face consultations and doing more of video consultations? This is something that has to be looked at even in a 5-bedded nursing home, where you reduce the patient reaching you physically and only look at those patients who need a face-to-face consultation after having done a video consult. As I see mainly backaches, I know that out of 20 patients I may be otherwise seeing in my OPD, only 5 or 8 of them actually have true physical signs. And if I were to say all 20 of them on a video consult, I would, in a reasonable proportion, pick up 80% of those 5 patients or 8 patients who deserve to see me face to face. So this is the way we'll need to go. So there are 2 questions about the video consult. And the second is a face shield something which all of us should wear over and above our mask?
Great both questions, Ram. Great both questions. I will let Amita answer first because she has bias towards back pain for obvious reasons. So Amita
Let me answer that first, Sushruth, as an ordinary person, not as a pulmonologist. The reason is, I feel that if we are just wearing a mask, we keep on adjusting the mask, the chances of we touching your face is very high. So I feel that whenever there is a face shield in front of me,
yes.
So my nose, throat, everything is blocked. I cannot touch it. And another thing is I can wipe this off. So this is what I feel as a most advantageous one.
So Shiva, is this what IOA is giving us?
No. I am telling as not as a IOA vice president elect. I am telling as an ordinary doctor.
Yeah, I understand. But IOA is providing face shield, no?
Yes, correct.
Is this the same?
Not this one. That is good quality. Okay. This is a local made.
Okay, Amita, you want to answer?
So, excellent points by Dr. Shiva. So basically, I want to say that we need to understand the route of entry of coronavirus. It enters through nose, mouth, and eyes. So by wearing the mask, we are only protecting nose and mouth. We need to cover our eyes also. So either wear goggles or you wear a face mask or the shield. If you're wearing the shield, please understand you have to still wear N95 mask inside. The shield is not going to protect your nose and mouth from the thing entering. So if you are working, you have to have N95 mask. Over that, either wear glasses or have the shield. I personally feel the shield is much more comfortable.
Rajesh?
Yes, same. I think that is what basically we should just basically also block the entry points of the viruses and exit points. So entry points would be of course taken care of this thing, and plus we got habit of touching our face actually so often that also would be deterrent if we have the facial in front of us. I think that is the idea of actually having this thing about.
No, my take on this, Sushruth, face shield, the quality that Dr. Shiva is showing, and which if bought in large numbers, can be procured for about 200 rupees maximum. I'll be very frank with you. And this should be used for all the healthcare workers over and above whatever they use for OPDs. I think it's major from protecting everything.
Correct.
I think
and it's fantastic, you just clean it with a sanitizer,
absolutely.
and you're ready to use, and you keep one for each person separately for them.
So
It's very, very
in fact, I'm going to write it in the guidelines that this should be given to all frontline OPD people also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not just doctors, but receptionists.
Receptionist also.
Absolutely.
Even the ward
And the triaging people,
boys
people
and
who are
moms,
triaging, checking temperatures.
That's a good point, Ram. Very, very good point. Rajesh, you want to take his second question on video consultation? Rajesh?
Yeah, so I think we'll have to resort to all those things. In fact, where there are, we don't have touch.
One more precaution we are taking in our hospital. Can I come?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. When the patient enters the hospital building, anybody, not only patient, his relatives, anybody else, we have kept one sanitizer person there, and as well as the masks. He has to wear the mask and has to rub sanitizer when he enters the building.
That is
Any new person.
That is mandatory.
Because even if you clean your hospital and even that person is having some, his hands can again infect the hospital. So then when we clean the hospital, later on there may not be any infections there.
Do you want to bring on the next point, Chetan?
Okay, I want to just say the most important point about the OPD, how our room should be. I think we have not spoken about it. So it's very, very important that we keep the AC off. The door and the windows both have to be open for natural ventilation. Try to keep minimum assistance as possible. Whenever you need to examine the patient, try to go behind the patient and examine if it's possible. And between the patient and the doctor also, we can actually have a plastic barrier. So that, and then that barrier is actually covering the entire table so that the patient and the relatives don't keep on touching the table, because that also becomes a source of infection for us.
Okay, Amita, on the same this thing, if I can ask you the most important question of the day, how do I handle the money? There is no cashier, no accountant, patient is giving me the bunch of notes. How do I handle it?
Okay, so the thing is, just keep a drawer open and the patient shows the money, how much it is, and he puts straight into the drawer, and you basically close it, and only after 3 days touch the notes. Please don't touch it otherwise. So please encourage, banking, which is digital, and otherwise a card is also fine because you can just clean the card. Otherwise, if it's notes, don't touch for 3 days full, 72 hours the notes.
How do I return the change to the patient?
On cardboard and paper, it doesn't stay more than 3 hours. That's what many of the literature says. Only steel or plastic.
No, sir. No, sir.
72
hours.
72 hours. It's 72 hours.
Okay, Chetan, next question. Let's stop here.
Yeah, so the next question is, what do we do about OPD procedures like plasters, dressings, local injections, and other investigations? Should we encourage them? Should we take all the PPE precautions, or what should be done about it?
Okay, question to Ashwini. Ashwini, you need to answer this. Ashwini, but please answer considering that you're talking to 90% of orthopedic surgeons of the country, not 10% corporates. Ashwini.
Yeah, basically it's regarding the OP procedures,
OP
like
procedures like
plaster,
dressings, removal of plasters, doing plasters, dressings, local hydrocortisone injections, etc.
these are the procedures which I don't expect any aerosolization during this procedure. So whatever basic minimum PPEs, like ma'am said, N95, I'm comfortable with surgical mask and a headgear with a gown, gloves, and then do the procedure. Post procedure, we need to be sure that we are cleaning the complete area with the routine disinfectant protocol, and then shift the patient.
Cutting a plaster by an electric cutter. It generates lots of droplets and aerosols.
Okay.
The plaster of Paris particles, they float all around.
The attendant needs to wear a glass shield for that, or a face shield for that, over a mask. That should be helpful now.
Yeah. We'll make face shield.
But then those will be the plaster shield. Now, do we expect any
plaster of Paris particles?
Infective aerosols in that? So that way, yes, the routine protocol should be good enough.
What do you say, Rajesh, on this? Rajesh?
You have to unmute, Rajesh.
Unmute, Rajesh.
Yeah, so I think these are all power tools, what we call, that you use basically in your orthopedics practice, and they would be prone to actually all this aerosol generation. So that if you have to only use PPE N95 mask has to be used even also for your plaster removal. I think that is what I like to say.
Okay. Amita, do you have any other opinion on this?
Yeah, so actually the thing is you have to have N95 mask, you have to have either goggles or you need your face shield. You need a gown which is going to cover, including your neck also should be covered.
Yes.
You need gloves. And I would recommend please wear a cap also, surgical cap. Because a lot of us have a habit of putting our hands into our hair, you know. So we are wearing gloves, but that goes into our hair. Later we remove the gloves. If we don't wash our hair, then that becomes a source of infection. But just coming back to this plaster of Paris thing, plaster of Paris creates a lot of things coming out, but that would not be COVID. Like even if the patient is a COVID positive patient, his plaster would not be having COVID over there. So as far as the patient is not coughing, plaster of Paris doesn't become a source of spreading COVID. But all the same, we have to wear the PPE. Whatever you come in contact with the patient, wear everything.
Kakatkar sir.
No, that was the point that I was going to raise, that the plaster of Paris powder or the Articas powder, that is not really a source of COVID.
Yeah.
That can cause cough to the patient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ram?
So I think just
So
a
the
mask and
patient
face
should
shield.
wear a mask.
Okay.
Patient should wear a mask.
I have a point to add.
Shiva, एक second.
Yes.
Shiva, एक second. Ram,
The
please.
IOA has given guidelines
Shiva,
as far as possible.
Shiva, 1 second, please.
Yes.
Ram, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I want to ask a question. What changes do I need to do between patient 1 and patient 2? I've examined one patient for his lower back. He's exited my OPD. Do I need to change the sheet on the couch? Do I need to put separate papers or something which is going to change from patient 1 to patient 2? What all changes do I need to do between patient 1 and patient 2?
Rajesh, between patient 1 and patient 2 in OPD.
In OPD, what all changes do I need to do?
Yeah, so the disinfection procedure has to be followed, and you have to spray with 190% hypothetic chloride solution or
every patient.
Yes.
No, that is if
you put a sheet or something in which he's sitting. Is it okay?
I have three options, sir. I have a couch which has a Rexine cover.
Yeah, that is what I was going to tell you.
Sheet on it, or I have a couch which has a bed sheet with a paper cover. Which one should I do or prefer, and how do I handle all these three situations? Is my question.
Can I add? I think use a Rexine cover, don't use cotton covers at all, because Rexine can be very easily cleaned with sodium hypochlorite solution, even in between two patients,
Okay, coming back to Shiva,
in a way,
Shiva,
it gives you
wait a minute.
also.
Please, panelists, please do not barge in if I'm not asking you to do so. Please.
Okay.
Shiva, please.
Yes. See, what I wanted to tell regarding the plaster, IO has given a clear-cut guideline that the contact with the patient for doing a plaster or removing a plaster is more. So to reduce that, it advocates to give slab. That's one. And regarding examining the table or the patient examining table, I have a Rexine examining table and a disposable paper which normally they put on the table while we have food in a marriage. That disposable paper I just roll over the paper on one side. As soon as I examine it, I try to avoid touching the patient majority of the time. If I have to touch the patient or if I have to see him lying down, then I'll just roll over so that the fresh part comes there.
Okay, right. Karade sir, bola. Unmute kara.
One thing, as far as plaster removal is concerned, now plaster putting is something different. Removal is concerned, whatever the surface which is there, it might be infected. Then the inside will not be infected.
Okay.
So when you are removing the plaster, as Dr. Rajesh said, that you can sanitize the surface of the plaster, and then you can remove it. It will be easier to remove also after that. Second part, I want to just ask, that is not only the bed sheet which needs to be sanitized. Now, when the patient enters, he touches your door, he touches the chair, he touches the walls, So what we do in between the two patients, we consider all the possible areas where the patient touches, and as you said, we use bleaching powder, also sodium hypochlorite, and disinfect that with that, wait for 5 minutes, and then take the next patient. So we have to see even at the reception also.
Actually,
touches.
You require minimum 10 minutes after bleaching. You need to know this. After 1% sodium hypochlorite, you have to wait minimum 10 minutes. The contact has to be minimum 10 minutes for disinfection process to start. So please, if you're cleaning it, then wait for 10 minutes before you do anything else.
Okay.
Second, even the furniture or the reception counter where the patient touches, at that time again we go on, disinfecting it as if for every between the two patients. So we have to take this particular care.
Yeah, Ram.
If I have understood right, I should have ideally a Rexine examination couch, a Rexine pillow. I should not have a curtain which I roll in and roll out, which I used to normally do when I see my backache patients. And I should wait for 10 minutes between patient 1 and patient 2, during which sodium hypochlorite will work. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
You are almost there, Ram. Okay, my question to you, anesthetists, Sandeep and Pranali. Let's say in OPD, I want to avoid giving sedation or GA. Is it okay? Part of the same question, is it preferred in orthopedic procedures emergency to prefer regional blocks or spinal versus GA? And what's the risk if at all I have to give GA to the patient, which means intubation, which means risk to more to you guys than to me? So can you elaborate on these three aspects? OPD sedation, if at all is required, surgery preference should be spinal or regional or GA. Sandeep.
So in OPDs,
Sandeep, can you come closer to the mic? Your voice is a little not audible.
Or ask him to use a earphone with a mic.
No, we can't hear you.
Hello.
Oh.
Yes, go on, sir.
Go ahead. Tell us.
Can you hear now?
A lot of echo. I don't know. Anyway, please
lot
go
of
ahead.
No, earphone with a mic, if you use, I think that echo will go away. You are not using earphones with mic.
चेतन तू आजूबाजूला आहेस का?
मी सांगतो त्यांना.
Yes, right.
We can't hear you.
Hello. Even
okay, Pranali, you want to take this till that time? Pranali?
Yes, sir. Even if in the OPD procedure you want a sedation by the anesthetist, that time you cannot remove an surgical mask. Means N95 mask should be applied to the patient, considering every patient as a COVID positive or suspect positive. So you have to give oxygen, supplemented oxygen if needed. Above that mask only you have to provide with nasal cannula. And in the OT, you have to take maximum precaution as such. Wear PPEs, doffing and donning area, everything has to be with due precautions. Like minimum personnel should be in the OT should be there. If possible, do it in the regional anesthesia, because with the GA, risk of aerosol generating procedures, these are GA, intubation per se, it will give maximum virus load to the OT. So you have to avoid GA. But you have to keep in the mind a GA could be as an option, because if the regional fails, you have to go with the GA per se.
Like Pranali, I will tell you an example. 3 days back when we operated the polytrauma.
Yes, sir.
You were insisting on GA so that I can operate on all the 4 limbs. And I told no, I will do one in sedation, but try to give spinal and regional. So is that the preferred way?
Yes, sir. It is definitely a preferred way. That is right, sir. Absolutely.
Chetan? Yeah.
Yes, because see, all the papers that I went through have mentioned that you use spinal, epidural, or regional or local. They have even gone ahead with to the extent of saying you use local with adrenaline wherever possible. So all these papers endorse that. So there are certain procedures where GA must be given, like maybe spine surgeries, etc.
Okay. Also trying to extrapolate from you, Chetan, do these papers also suggest increased morbidity or mortality related to type of anesthesia at all?
Yes.
So GA has maximum mortality, especially when you have comorbidities, and especially in COVID positive patients. In all these papers, there are 2-3 papers, 2 from China itself and 1 now in JBJS published. So GA should be avoided as much as possible. Yes. Whenever GA has to be given, then I think the anesthetist.
There is no choice, of course. Yeah. I will come to you, Shiva, in a minute. Sandeep.
Okay, but
Sandeep.
Can I make a very important point for anesthetists?
Amita, 1 second, please. Let Sandeep speak, please.
Sure.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So this anesthesia now, it is divided into aerosolized and non-aerosolized. So regional we practice a lot, and it has to be practiced with due care. as has been suggested in the literature as well, we always wear N95 masks as well as category 3 PPE for all COVID patients. And for asymptomatic patients, it's only the PPE one. That's what we use. But when you put patients on oxygen, it has to be with low flow oxygens, because the lateral stream of oxygen, it can come directly on the face of the anesthetist. So it has to be a low flow, or you can put a mask over that, or you can put a shield over it, but you just prevent the doing a brachial plexus block, because we come still closer to the patient. That is one thing to be kept in mind. The second thing is about a spinal anesthetic in a COVID positive patient. Now remember, if the mechanism is, it's just like an AC inhibitor. So it's just like you're doing giving a spinal to a patient on an AC inhibitor. In the past, we used to do it for captoprils and the ramiprils. There used to be a patient who used to have a crash in the blood pressure. So we had two patients with us in whom the pressures had gone down to 40 systolic, and it took a long time to recover. So probably these were the patients who were symptomatic, but they were not diagnosed at all. So this is what I want to drive the point is, even when you do a neuraxial techniques, they use a lot of clonidine. So clonidine is one which may not be useful in the COVID positive patient. The other thing is about the epidural catheters. How long the catheters have to be there in the postoperative period? What about the infusions? Who's going to take out the catheters and who's going to dispose them off? Another important point is, if the patient has a dural puncture, what about the post-dural puncture headache? Are you going to give a blood patch, or are you going to give a spinopellet ganglion block? So the spinopellet and ganglion block, which is now in vogue for all the post-dural puncture headache, it's not in a good site. It's just in the nasopharynx. You cannot just give a block there. So that's out of question. The second thing about the blood patch, are you going to inject the blood of a COVID positive patient back into the epidural space? So these are some of the unanswered questions which we are still hunting for.
Sure. Good. Yeah, thanks. Shiva, please.
Yes.
Shiva.
See, there is a very good YouTube video by Bal Venkat from Ganga Hospital. He says that the aerosol generating procedures give all produces all this aerosol in the first initial 15 minutes. So after the anesthetist induces them in a separate room, the patient is kept for 15 minutes. Nobody enters the OT, including the surgeon, except the grade 3 PP wearing anesthetist. So nobody will be there. The same thing will be done at the end also while extubating the patient. That's one. Second thing is, the anesthesia machine should be having HPA filters, especially at the expiratory end, so that your anesthesia machine will not get contaminated and you are not going to infect another patient with this. This is a disposable filter which has to be kept at the expiratory end. This is what I wanted to add. And as Sandeep has clearly said, we should try to avoid aerosol generating procedures, and as far as possible, as you rightly said, we should do it under regional anesthesia.
Okay. Amita first and then Sandeep. Amita. Yes, Amita.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, I'm barging in. Okay, so Shritha, I just want to make a very important point, especially to our anesthetist friends. We need to understand that nasal cannula produces droplet which has transmission of 100 centimeters, as against venturi mask, which causes droplet transmission of only 30 centimeters, and a mask which causes only 40 centimeters. So please do not give oxygen by nasal cannula to anybody, period. So please, this is a very important point, because I personally don't think even anesthetists are aware of it. So the thing is that whoever needs oxygen ideally gets by venturi mask. If not venturi mask, then it is by a face mask. And on that you put another mask. But please do not give by nasal cannula, which is a big mistake people are making.
Perfect. Sandeep?
It's droplet transmission of 100 centimeters. Imagine how far it's going.
We got aerosol boxes now for this inducing anesthesia. In fact, we got the plastic boxes which have been made specially for this, what we call aerosol box. So you have to keep these boxes over the patient and then intubate the patient.
So do you
now available in fact?
Them for everyone?
Takatkar sir?
Yeah, see what Shiva was telling, that 15 minutes everybody has to be out. It's not that way. I have seen that Bala Venkat's video and I have heard his entire talk. What he says is that he has prepared a polycarbonate chamber, which is got an attachment where you can put a suction. So first 15 minutes and at the time of extubation for 15 minutes, it is connected to either the central or the OT suction, so that whatever aerosol is generated, that is automatically absorbed and it doesn't spread into the OT and doesn't cause any danger to the OT staff.
Okay, Sandeep.
No,
This. Now, I consider this intubating box, what they have devised, as a bit of difficult technically, because in case if the patient vomits, which just we had one case, and the patient just vomited, I had to just remove the intubating box and have to address all the issues which we normally address. Fortunately, I was donning the PPE kit. This is one of the important aspects. So you cannot just manage this kind of patient. The second thing about the nasal cannula is, yes, it has come long back. It's not new. It has come back in the Journal of Chest in 2006 when it was SARS first virus. So even with 1 liter of oxygen, it can spread to a very furthest distance. So what we do in fact, I have done is I have added even HP filter to the viral bacterial viral filter to the oxygen mask as well. And the lateral ends are totally cut off, and the capnographic unit is inserted into the oxygen mask. So everything fits on the mask. You have a capnograph, you have a filter, and you have oxygen going into the patient as well. So it's just like monitoring over the face of the patient. It comes now. It's a burden to the patient, but at the end of the surgery, it definitely helps you.
Okay, Shiva, you want to say something? Unmute.
Since we are discussing about the OT and anesthesia part, surgery part, I thought I should bring the question of any modification should be done in the OT, because we all say that negative pressure OT should be created.
Okay, let this go to Ashwini. Ashwini, the question to you is laminar airflow important? Is positive pressure ventilation, negative pressure ventilation? What care, what modification we should do? Ashwini.
So there are guidelines which says negative pressure, OT can be converted into negative pressure. But what we are trying to do is we are trying to cut down on aerosol generation. One of which is the base part is handled by anesthetist, and we have already discussed that part.
Ask you something
As far as this is
Better.
concerned, negative pressure ventilation, even if we don't go for that, is advisable, and there are guidelines regarding it.
I'm asking you something. My OT is a simple OT. Do I need laminar airflow? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
So if I don't do laminar airflow, my morbidity, mortality, does it have a very significant influence on that?
So basically what we are targeting here is a good air exchange rate, and normal rate what we want is 20. So that they had asked to increase it to 25, because there is clear-cut guideline from CDC. If you increase the air exchange rate to 25, whatever those small droplets are there, those 99.9% of it get carried away in 7 minutes. And anyhow, we are giving one at a time.
As far as disinfectants are concerned in OT, for preparation of OT, is there any change now in corona?
It's more or less the same protocol. The only thing is everything we have to do meticulously. On top of it, what we can add is we can do hydrogen peroxide fogging, which we normally don't do, but that is something which we can do on top of it, in addition to our routine surface cleaning.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regime that I should follow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
In respect to the surface cleaning.
No, I want to prepare my OT, surfactants as well as general disinfectants.
So OT, minimum aerosolization, minimum staff, whoever is there is wearing your PPEs. As far as cleaning is concerned, it's a routine protocol. Person who is cleaning should wear bare minimum PPE, whatever is required. Whatever is unused in the OT, ideally it's supposed to be contaminated, and that is one thing we need to keep in mind. So keep the bare minimum amount of things required. The other important point I found out is our anesthesia and other equipment, we can cover them with plastic sheets, something which we can clean it easily with the disinfectant, because otherwise cleaning it with disinfectant will be difficult.
What is the preferred disinfectant?
Our disinfectant is, it depends on the, normally is basically hypochlorite and alcohol. So based on equipment compatibility, we can use both of them. And on top of it, for extra disinfection or extra care, we can have a hydrogen peroxide fogger.
Okay, Chetan, yours.
Yeah, so I've been reading extensively about OT, and the latest AAS guidelines says that negative pressure is not required.
Yeah.
And But laminar flow, they say, is mandatory, where you have minimum 20 air changes per hour. So in
25, they have said now.
25 based on that statistic. I'll share the data in the group.
yeah, so at least 20 air changes per hour should be there.
Yes.
And surface disinfection as well as aerosol disinfection should be done after every case. These three are mandatory guidelines.
Okay.
And
Rajesh Warnakar just needs to leave. So thanks, Rajesh, for joining us. Appreciate your contribution. Ram.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ram.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye, Rajesh. See you. Bye.
Sets of
All right,
questions.
you need to go as well. Okay, Amita. Thank you.
Yeah.
Two sets of
Thank you
questions.
very much. Thanks for the contribution. Thanks, Amita.
Sandeep Diwan.
Thanks.
From Amita, I want to ask one question to Amita
Yeah, sure.
about the N95 valves.
Yeah.
N95,
Actually,
there are two types of
I was
N95.
I was saying a bye to Rajesh. I'm still there for 20
Oh,
minutes.
There are two types of N95,
Even
with walls and
even I
without
am there.
walls. You want to know from experts, we want to know who should wear what, with walls and without walls, N95.
Okay, so basically N95 mask with valve should be totally avoided in today's day and age, because the thing is that if at all we are infected, then we are going to be wearing N95, so we will get infected, but we will keep on spreading virus to everybody. So in corona days, we should completely discourage and not allow anybody to wear N95 with the valve. So anybody who's working in a healthcare facility, whether it's a ward boy or a maushi or a receptionist or a resident or us consultants, we have to wear N95. That is what is about the mask. And the patient should be wearing a triple layer surgical mask. Every relative, whoever is in the hospital, has to be in a triple layer surgical mask.
Ram, yes, Ram.
I have two sets of questions to the anesthesia department.
Every time you have two questions, is it, Ram? Okay, go ahead.
One to the anesthesia department. Do you have a pre-op and a post-op blocking area or recovery room? Do you continue with that, or do you just take the patient directly to the OT, keep him in the OT for as long as he needs to be in the peri-op area, and send him back to the room? This is with reference to cross-contamination among patients. That's my first question. Once it's answered, I want a second question. So let's go with the first question.
Amita.
Yeah, so this is an excellent question by Ram. We basically want to make least areas infected. So as far as possible, obviously we will not be having too many surgeries right now. So once the surgery is over, let the patient be in the OT only. Let the patient come out, everything let it happen in the OT. And from the OT, patient from a special corridor straight goes into his room. So that is very important. And just before Ram asks another question, I just want to give a few tips for the OT management. So basically the thing is that whichever is your OT, basically it has to be the first OT next to the entrance, so that the patient doesn't infect more of the corridor. Number two, all the patient reports have to be kept outside the OT. So whether it's MRIs, X-rays, whether it's written files, everything has to be outside. Everybody sees the reports outside, operates, comes back, and the notes also have to be written outside the OT. So nothing of the patient goes inside the OT. What is important is that the matron has to create the trolley. Everything that is going to be required has to be there. And if something is missing, the surgeon should manage without anybody having to go out. So once the surgery starts, nobody should be going in and out. These things are very, very important to prevent infection to get transmitted. And we are basically, like Dr. Rajesh said, about intubation, we are basically insisting about using the intubation box. It is very, very useful. But despite the intubation box and despite the suction being kept in the patient's mouth, we still recommend 15 minutes time. The surgeons are out, anesthetists are operating after 15 minutes only to come in. Because by using suction, the aerosol formation reduces, it doesn't become zero. So that 15-minute point is also very important. During intubation, everybody's out except for the anesthetist. Wait for 15 minutes and then come back in.
Yeah. My second question is regarding instruments that we use. How safe or unsafe is using the thermocautery, the drill, the burr, and if I need to send a specimen for histopathology, what do I do?
No, I think, Ram, these are 4 questions, because I'll tell you one quick statistics. Drill, reamers, and burr, they create aerosol particles. There is one more staggering statistics which has just come to me from a paper Actually, it's a Chinese paper, but that's the statistics which I just launched in my this thing for a review of European journal that says that the maximum mortality amongst doctors
Is
across the world
orthopedic.
is from orthopedic surgeons
Yeah.
and orthopedic trauma surgeons using reamers. So that's what they have come to. So with this in the background, Amita, do you want to answer rest of his questions?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so very important point brought out by you, and Ram as always has come up with an excellent point. So the thing is that all these things are actually aerosol producing. So basically whether you're using cautery, whether you're doing suction, everything that you're doing is actually aerosol producing. And the thing is that the patient could be having in the viremia where blood also contains the virus. And therefore, please try to make your surgery. Important points, right now you operate. Don't try to teach your assistant. Please do not allow an assistant to operate. This is no time to teach anybody anything because you are so uncomfortable in that outfit. So if there's a problem, a junior may take a wrong decision and it may result in more bleeding, and every extra cautery or suction use is aerosol producing. So the thing is, that is the reason the surgeons also need double protection. So we are saying that in the OT, the surgeons and anesthetists need double protection for both. You need goggles and a shield. You need a N95, over that a surgical mask, 2 pairs of gloves. You need two pairs of this headgears also, and you need a plastic apron, and over that you require full PPE including the balaclava, and you require shoe covers also. So this is what you require because everything in the surgery becomes aerosol producing.
What about our lead gowns, madam? We also wear lead gowns.
Yes.
Sorry?
Lead gowns.
Yeah, lead gown. That's because of fluoroscope, right? That's a different thing. But lead doesn't protect you from corona. So then,
Okay, Shiva.
Yes, my question to Amita, not as an orthopedic surgeon with intelligence, I can call it as an orthopedic surgeon with a brain in the knee. My simple question is whether you are using reamer, drill or anything, the aerosol will have viruses to infect, because we are more worried about the aerosols coming from the nose, throat and other things which infects the person. Whether aerosol generated while reaming, drilling, burring, that can cause infection. What is the percentage of virus if it is there?
Okay, so very good question. So basically the thing is that about the drilling, I'm not really sure because we don't know how much virus will be present in the bone. But anything that is to do with the blood is definitely of concern because there's a phase of viremia. Even when the patients are asymptomatic, you could be in the viremic phase when the virus is present in the blood. So basically we call suction and cautery as aerosol producing, which is dangerous to us. But whatever you're doing only with the bone, where blood is not going to flow, is something which is not very dangerous or proven to be dangerous, but might as well take precautions because science is changing. Every day you are finding new and new things. So let's take care.
Chetan, you have gone through literature huge. So tell us
So all the papers that I saw agree with what Amita and everybody, Shiva, everybody is saying right now. But the standard guideline is reduce the production of aerosols. You cannot do without a cautery, without a suction, or without anything that we just mentioned, drills, burrs, etc. in orthopedics. So the only thing is you protect yourself and you reduce the production of these things. Like what Amita said, most of the papers talk about not teaching, finishing the surgery fast, finishing it by the topmost consultant who is good at doing that case, and come out of the OT as soon as possible.
Takatkar sir first and then Sandeep.
Yeah, there are 2 points I would like to say about this. We have not thought about the saws. We consider drill and, we were talking about burr. But one of the most notorious thing that is there is a saw that actually creates maximum aerosol. And that is why for joint replacement surgeons, I think it is really very dangerous because they have to use that saw, which creates maximum
I'm
aerosol.
going to address arthroplasty surgeons as a separate entity in next 2 minutes.
Okay.
Sandeep first.
No. Second point I wanted to say is, if you use a drill for drilling, say you are using a 2.5 or 3.2 drill bead, the amount of aerosol which is generated by the drill bead and the same size K wire if you use, the amount of aerosol created is much less. So I think you can change over from a drill bit to the K wire when you are absolutely forced to use it.
Yeah.
That's
Good
one
point,
of
sir.
the, yeah.
Good point. Sandeep.
this is just regarding the patient getting from the OT back to the recovery and then to the ward or the ICU. All ICU patients are shifted directly to the ICU through a separate corridor, without going to the recovery where many patients could be waiting.
Yeah.
But those patients under spinal anesthesia who are moving their legs or hemodynamic is stable, they will be shifted directly to the ward or the room. But those whose pressures have collapsed or who have been given a shot of mefentin, they remain a very short period of time in the recovery room. So the recovery room time of the patient has really shortened in this, maybe a month or so. That's just the input. And other brachial plexus blocks, they are just seen in the post-operative period and immediately discharged into the rooms, and then they will be monitored as well.
Okay, Ashwini.
Okay. As we are discussing, orthopedic surgeons were at more risk. So I have reviewed few papers, and in that, orthopedic surgeons who had higher risk, what they found was not wearing N95 had higher odds up to the 5.6 somewhere. So that was an important point why they were more exposed and they had more complication. Definitely, there is always a chance of aerosol generation, and we have to look at the process, cutting it down. But this is one point I guess we need to keep in mind. The other thing is amount of viremia which is there is not significant. Definitely it is there, but there was a paper where they have compared amount of viremia in the throat and in the blood, and in the blood the amount of viremia was comparatively lower. So that is one thing we need to keep in mind, and we need more literature on this.
Yeah, Ashwini, I'll tell you something. Because of these papers which Chetan was quoting or Shiva was quoting, we unfortunately have lost two orthopedic surgeons, senior colleagues of our country. And we went back to the history. I went back to their history. Both had operated something which generated rimming and which generated aerosol. So we are all shit scared, to tell you honestly. And that's why we are
And
coming
they
up
were
with this.
wearing complete PP.
We are operating, no? So of course we are wearing everything that's possible in the world. And we were operating in one of the best top-notch hospitals in the country. So all the precautions were taken, still we lost them. Amita, yes, over to you.
Actually, no, I came a little late. I missed the first 10 minutes. Probably you've discussed, but I still want to add, please, a very important guideline part should be that whenever one person decides that this patient requires surgery, two independent other consultants have to review the case and decide if this surgery is really necessary. Please do that.
Okay.
Because the thing is
That's a great
very
point.
often we may be biased.
Chetan, I think our guidelines, we should come out also with the consent form, which is, valid consent form, and we should release that. My next question to you, all of you, is after listening to the great psychology lecture this morning, if Ram, as you suggested, teleconsultation is the way to go in OPD, are we losing that emotional connect with the patient in trying to propagate more of telemedicine? Ram.
The question is very valid. I am one of those very strong proponents of empathy, compassion, purpose. But here we have to look at safety first. And as far as reducing that physical contact, both for the safety of the patient and the healthcare worker, including the doctor and the entire team, today, in today's circumstances, I'm willing to accept it. I can give a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy, even on a face-to-face consult if I have to, but I can do it across a barrier or on a video consult. Yes, I'm losing that physical touch, but I think this is going to be temporary. At some stage, we will get back to something where we were 3 months back.
Interim.
It's just a transition phase, and we have to change with the circumstances today.
Question to Ashutosh Apte. Ashutosh has a special interest in legality concern in this. So how valid or how protected are we if we do teleconsultation? Like Ram says, he doesn't need to see maybe 2 out of those 10 patients of spine in particular.
Yeah.
So how legally protected are we, Ashutosh?
So long as this COVID-19 goes on as an epidemic, it has been guidelines have been given by MCI that it is valid to go ahead with video consent or even telemedicine. That's what we were talking about. It's quite valid right now. Basically, as a consultant, what I can say is review patient. Yes, we can very well go in with telemedicine. For a fresh patient, we need to ask him, have a look for the first time. Then only we can find an opinion.
Exactly. There is not a
Can I just add on to something? Can I just add something?
MCI, there is not a blanket approval of the telemedicine consultation. It's only under certain circumstances, especially for the first time when you are seeing the patient, it has to be seen physically.
Yeah.
Later on also, if you are suspecting something, so say, for
Follow-up.
example, patient
It
is
has to
having
be a
the
follow-up and known patient to you. Amita, question. Yeah, you wanted to ask something?
medicine complications, the drug complication which is likely to come up, that also you have to be, at least you should get the photograph or something, but no blanket permission for the telemedicine consultation.
Okay, so I just want to add on to one point that now basically we have been told by the government that start OPDs. So the telemedicine, one very important clause is that if the patient wants to come and see you in the hospital, then you cannot insist on telemedicine. And this is a very important medical legal aspect we need to know about. So if I want to come to see you, you cannot say that, no, I will do telemedicine. Then if you don't want to see him, don't see him, but don't do telemedicine. That is very important.
Yes, Ram. Good point, Amita. Ram?
I totally agree. Just see, we moved out of the OT, but I had one point to ask there, and I think it's important. We use a lot of post-operative drains in the OT. They put drains. We also use skin staples and suturing. Should we modify our ways? Should we put less post-operative drain tubes? Should we do subcuticular closures where we don't need to do suture removal? Just a question.
Ashwini, you want to take this?
I will answer that. The CDC group, the Parvizi group, if you see their recommendations, they recommend using monocryl or absorbable sutures, not staples, and not putting in drains as much as possible. And in fact, avoiding any further dressing. So you put a tegaderm dressing where you can see the wound from a distance, and just send the patient home and don't bother about it, about the wound, surgical wounds and removing sutures, etc. So
I think, Ram, the entire world is going away from brain now. Most of the procedures, most of it. My last closing question to all of you as panel. My arthroplasty colleagues are now asking us that, okay, you got trauma surgeries approved as emergency surgeries. Where are we? Are we not playing foul? How long do we wait? Because we don't know the time-wise end point of corona. So how much should we wait for any elective surgery if my specialty is only arthroplasty? I want each of the panel to ask this from heart, not from brain, not from the data, not from the references, starting from Shiva.
Sushrut, I wanted to talk a little earlier, so I'll answer that first. See, we were in a era pre-COVID where our interaction with the patient was very, very high.
Yes.
Now it has come very low.
Yes.
Now, over 3 to 6 months time, it will increase, but it will never go back again.
True.
I take it as a positive thing in India, which has happened because our healthcare system is improving, our infrastructure is improving, the GDP, which was almost practically nil or 1%. Now the government will think to improve all the facilities, and it's a positive thing, and even people spitting on the road, all those things will be taken care in due course of time. So social distancing is bound to improve the quality of our life and the quality of the air which we are in. That's one. Second thing is telemedicine. Yes, telemedicine, there is ifs and buts. If the patient wants to have a personal touch, he will come. But we can prevent the duration at which we were spending with the patient. Say, if I am spending 15 minutes with the patient, now I'll spend 10 minutes on telemedicine, and just for 5 minutes will come. And the chances are we are the hospital getting infected because already we have done the whole screening earlier before coming to the hospital. So that also reduces, and the workload on the hospital also reduces. So that's one. Regarding your closing remarks as an arthroplasty surgeon, yes, we have gone through the same. When HIV came in mid-90s, everybody was scared to operate initially. But we are now, almost everybody operates. Similarly, it's only the time which heal. So another 3 months time, all the arthroplasty surgeons will be doing the surgery without any barrier. Of course, taking all precautions.
Yeah. Akakta sir, what is your
Can I add one more? Can I add one more, Sushrut?
Yes, sure.
we are not sure. See, this is a COVID is a very, coronavirus is a very infective virus which has come in the market. Whether like a influenza virus, even if I get immunity after getting infected to this year, whether my immunity will last next for the next year, next different strain. That also we don't know. So this is really something which worries me because if I was sure that it is a lifelong antibodies my body is producing against this virus, then I would have been much more happier person to get infected and
Absolutely.
also start the work.
Absolutely. Kakatkar sir?
Vaccine is
I want
the
to add
answer
something.
for it.
Yes.
Yeah, Kakatkar sir?
Yeah, I think right now, as per the categories that we have decided, the joint replacement surgery comes into a planned surgery. So even though they feel that their share of work has been totally taken away for next maybe 2 3 months till the time this acute wave of COVID is gone, I think it is better to avoid joint replacement surgeries. And then once you feel that the situation is sorted out, every patient that you want to take up, I think you have to consider the comorbidities and do proper thorough workup pre-operative, including whatever tests are available for ruling out the COVID, the silent carrier, and then only I think you should take these patients up for the joint replacement.
Okay. Ram, you have any opinion on this?
My suggestion is very clear. I think nature has taken the decision and taken it very correctly. It is re-employing the trauma surgeons first because they could afford the least. It will re-employ the spine surgeons next because we can't afford much. And the joint replacement surgeons will get re-employed last because they can afford to wait the longest. That is one thing very clear. And beyond that,
Okay, good one, Ram.
beyond that,
Karane sir, bola.
Well, see, they have to change their mind. That's why we have taken that first lecture as a mind, for that purpose. See, there are many other professions which are affected by this. Say for example, lawyer is there, the clothing people, those things which are not even. Is it most important? Is it this traveling? All the travel industry, tourism industry has gone. So one has to understand and try to find something else. That is one part. Second thing, as Akatkar said, they are fortunate that those patients will not go anywhere. They are going to be there. So only thing that you have to then do some 10 or 12 surgeries a day. But then all the revenue which are going to lose now, you are going to get it back again.
Aminta, yes?
Yeah, so I'm the only non-surgeon, one of the non-surgeons here. So I basically want to say that we need to change our mindset because we have to take an informed decision. Do we want to operate? Because we all know that all those who are more than 60 years of age have a worse prognosis if they get infected. Most of us have blood pressure, diabetes, IHT, race creat. We have some lung disorders. So first, do we really want to operate? Because do we want to be alive tomorrow? Things will change. Believe me, 6 months later, all the arthroplasties are going to start. So if you are more than 60 years of age, you have blood pressure, diabetes, IHT, please do not operate. And
That's
I
a
think
good
you should
point you
get
have
this
raised. Yes.
message. No, and this message has to come in the guideline. You know,
Yeah, it will
Chetan is
come.
writing everything down. Ram,
I have a small point here that probably when the arthroplasty guys come in and restart in a big way, their level of PPE introp will be a little bit different. They'll probably have to go to the next level, like a respirator that they may need to use. It's just a thought that I'm having, but this is probably what they may have to do. Of course, they are the guys who can afford it, but still, that's where I look at it.
they have already gone to robo level. So Ashutosh Apte, you want to say something on this?
Yeah, to sum up, I can very well say this too shall pass. Let's end it on a very positive note. And we all will be very well equipped as we have taken HIV in our stride. We'll take COVID in our stride and we'll move ahead in a month or two. That's it.
Madhvi, any quick two-liner, your suggestion on the entire scenario?
Sir, though we are in resource limited conditions, there might be some patients who are willing to do RT-PCR before going for surgery. So my suggestions for those patients will be, if we are doing RT-PCR test on these patients and going ahead with surgery, I would say that do not plan a surgery after 4 or 5 days. Do the surgery as early as possible after the results are available, because there are fallacies of RT-PCR also. So if at all we are going for testing, then if the test is negative, we should do the surgery as early as possible. And we know that this is a virus which is mutating very fast. So we should hope that this virus will mutate to its non-infectivity, and we, as all others are saying, that we will be in a safe scene very soon.
Ashwini, any closing two-liners, please? Mute, unmute, please.
Unmute, please.
Yeah, I have done.
Yeah. So all of us know it's going to be there with us for long. So the only thing will be let this phase go on when we know we are not sure about exactly what is happening, and we are going to get a catastrophe which is going to be there. So once this is over, I guess we will be in a better position. We'll have more logistic, we will have more research available, and we'll be in a more safe position to plan elective procedures.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Sandeep and Pranali, you are going to bear the brunt of we orthopedic surgeon pouncing on you and claiming that this is an emergency case and you have to do it. And as always, anesthetist will pose that restraint on us. So Sandeep, you want to say something on this?
I consider this corona as a blessing in disguise, actually, because I just was mentioning this to Dr. Kothari, who is a spine surgeon here. And I said that I do this job because this is the only pandemic which I would survive. And I won't be having...
Very true.
So I thought, why not go?
Last one point I want to make for those arthroplasty surgeons who should not.
Yeah. Pranali, you want to say something quickly, two-liner?
It is going to be there for the rest 1 year, I guess, or 6 months to 1 year. So anyhow, we have to start with normalizing with them.
Yeah, sure.
With this disease as well.
Chetan, any closing? We are running out of time. Chetan.
Yeah, so, only one small question.
Kakatkar sir, bola na.
This PCR, how specific this test is, as Madhvi was suggesting?
70%.
Madhvi?
So no, that's the real-time PCR which we are using is very specific because it involves two steps, two PCRs. One step is confirmatory PCR, which is more sensitive, that is inclusive of the most of the coronavirus. The E gene which we test, it is inclusive of most of the coronaviruses. The second step is of PCR is confirmatory test, which is specific for SARS-CoV-2. So this PCR is very, very specific. But then there are other fallacies of RT-PCR. Inherently, we have many false positive, many false negative. So all the results which we get from RT-PCR, we have to weigh them against patient's clinical condition. As such, we know that very early in the disease and very late in the disease, RT-PCR may be negative. That is why earlier I stressed upon doing the surgery as early as possible when we get the result, because we might be in the early phase of the disease or in the very late stage of the disease, patient might develop antibodies. But since we have only RT-PCR with us, this is a very good test as such. But then we have to look for we have to weigh a patient's condition against the result.
Okay. Chetan?
Yeah, so if anybody has any good information which we can use as a guideline, please post on the group, because I hope the group will remain live for a day or two at least more.
24 hours.
Yeah, no, we have to discuss.
Sure, will do. Yeah.
Yes.
So, can I please say something?
Yes, Amita.
Yeah, so as a clinician, and we are running a COVID ICU, we are running a COVID ward, we are like seriously working, we are like ground zero. So I have something very different from what Dr. Madhvi said. So actually the thing is that point very well taken, but important thing is that if RT-PCR comes negative, please do not immediately
rule out.
So the thing is that this is the protocol, please follow arthroplasty and fracture neck femurs also. If the RT-PCR is negative, still assume patient is asymptomatic carrier. If he is going to become symptomatic, it will be in next 7 days. So after a negative RT-PCR, make sure that the patient is in a place, whether it is home or it's a hospital, where he does not come into contact with anybody. He's wearing a mask, so don't allow the patient to get a new infection. After 7 days, if there are no symptoms, repeat an RT-PCR. And if that comes negative, please operate. So the thing is that If it's RT-PCR negative, please do not operate immediately. In fact, all the more reason patient is an asymptomatic carrier, and surgery actually unmasks COVID. I'm sure you all have come across a paper where they have said that surgery is precipitating COVID. Basically, surgery is unmasking COVID. So the thing is that the patient is bound to be asymptomatic. You have to wait for 7 days at least and keep them in an isolated place so that patient does not get a new infection in that period. So that was a very important point that I want to make.
Thank you for a very important input.
Second one, other important point I want to make for the arthroplasties and the fracture neck femurs, and that is a very important medico-legal point. Because the thing is that we need to understand that the patient will be an asymptomatic carrier and he has a 40% chance of greater morbidity and 20% chance of greater mortality. And you need to take it in your consent form when you're doing the surgery, that there is a high chance, there's an 80% of chance of you being an asymptomatic carrier. You have been explained that if you are 20% more chance of dying, 40% more chance of morbidity. Take this in consent form, because if anything happens to the patient despite epidemic act going on, your patient can sue you and say that this wasn't an emergency surgery. I was made to believe otherwise. So that is the reason I'm saying that please make this very clear. Consent form has to have it, and you require at least 1 or 2 independent opinions who also insist that the surgery is required. In addition, you require a few things. Though epidemic act is still going on, it may end after 4 to 6 weeks when you're all set to operate. So what you need to understand is that your consent form also needs to take it in writing that if your COVID test is RT-PCR is negative, does not mean that you don't have COVID. At the same time, it could be asymptomatic when it can become positive, and at the same time, you have a chance of picking up infection from the healthcare system, and therefore we cannot be blamed for it. So while the epidemic act is going on, nobody can catch us. But once the epidemic act is over, if your RT-PCR was negative and 7 days later becomes positive, the patient can try to sue you, saying, I got infection from you and you did not take enough care for me. And therefore, please, your consent forms have to have all this, which is very important. Please, how could we die to operate?
Chetan, I think this is very important for us to note.
Yeah, so I'm going to put that in the consents.
Yeah. So whatever consent forms we will distribute, we'll all have that. For want of time, I'm compelled to stop here. There will be no question answer session after this because this was only a panel discussion. Whatever we gathered, the delegates gathered out of this should be taken as some message. We are going to distribute the final guidelines in next 24 to 48 hours, courtesy Chetan, who is going to compile and put it together. I am so delighted for having the entire panel, 4 beautiful and brilliant girls to accompany amongst we rowdy orthopedic surgeons. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Very much from,
Thank you.
Dr. Ajit, Professor Dr. Ajit Shinde, who is the president, and Dr. Karnes sir, who was with us, secretary of MOA. This was a MOA and viewers combined activity. Thank you very much, everyone, all the panelists, for being with us and undergoing my torture of asking you questions. Thank you very much. Chetan, anything you want to say? Closing remark?
No, I just want to thank everyone for their contribution.
So we will check out and we will keep in touch. Stay connected.
Sure.
Stay safe, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.